the Lord of Civilization to the stars. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1 Brother, the dark gods are not that dark. Brother, I think the dark gods may not be as dark as you say. Looking at the confused boy in front of him, Ulfric, the monster hunter of Demon Peak, felt that his courage did not seem to be as strong as he imagined. He was even frightened by the world described by the boy. Ulfric really couldn't figure out why a person could be so cruel. Although the wind and snow in the unknown no man's land outside the house were dangerous, Ulfric felt that the boy in front of him was more dangerous. The suggestion he put forward was simply cruel and terrifying that could not be imagined in the deepest nightmare. At least the dark gods seemed a little human, and what this young man said was not something that humans could do at all. First of all, brother, the dark gods desire something more valuable, such as completing some greater challenges, and then doing something that ordinary people can't do. Ulfric sat in a chair and weighed his words, trying to make his words more rational. It is ridiculous for a Norseman who makes a living by looting to talk about rationality, but Ulfric is trying to do so to maintain the stability and rationality that should exist in this world. At least what this boy proposed is definitely not okay. As for the so-called fully automatic merit sacrifice factory you mentioned, I think the gods may not really like it, but didn't you say that as long as the conditions are met, the gods will bless them? The young man who was politely imprisoned in the fur cabin showed a confused expression and asked in confusion, so what's the problem with the factory? We can even use other intelligent creatures instead of humans, right? Humans remain pure, and all other races are thrown into the dark factory. Isn't this a good result? Well, how should I put it? Ulfric scratched his scalp, racking his brains, trying to find a point that could refute the boy's argument from his poor knowledge. I really don't think that a centralized factory that puts ratmen or something in a narrow box, breeds them with the blessing of the loving father, then uses the blessing of Slanesh to spray pesticides for entertainment, manages and processes them in the way of the condor, and finally cuts off their heads before dying in the way of the blood god can get the blessing of the dark gods. But the utilization rate is very high. The boy looked sincere. We can create a country of our own in this environment. We just need a pair of breeding partners. But I don't think it's good. In the factories of this era that I know, living people can only sleep on ropes. I even gave them a grid for entertainment and sleeping. Am I a very cruel person? Sleeping on ropes? How to sleep? Is the factory of the Southerners a bit too scary? Why didn't I see such a scary thing when I robbed? Looking at the confused young man in front of him, who seemed to be really puzzled, Ulfric scratched his head for a long time looking at this tender guy who fell from the sky, but in the end he couldn't think of what to do, so he could only raise his hands and surrender. Okay, Star Son, I admit that I like to brag a little bit, and I really don't know what the dark gods have to do to please me, but I think a person, or as a life, can at least not do that. The high priest of our fleet was scared sick by you. At least the dark factory is definitely not okay. But you are obviously a slavery. Why can't you accept this kind of thing? Because the value created by living slaves is far greater than soulless rotten meat. But your method is soulless. Looking at the young man who wanted to say something, Ulfric had no doubt about his identity as a special individual, and quickly raised his hand to explain. Calm down, Star Son, listen to me. I now completely believe that you are indeed a gift given to us by the dark gods, but your wisdom needs to be curbed. We are human beings, not like you. Even as servants of the dark gods, we cannot behave like this. Okay, then I have another question. The young man who was placed on the chair sat cross-legged, and for some reason, there was a sense of confusion in the language that he could understand. You said that the dark gods want the strongest warriors, the most beautiful women, the most intelligent life, the most energetic creatures, and all of these need war to manifest. And the dark gods need the most perfect individuals in war, right? In theory. Looking at the young man in front of him who was pondering, Ulfric felt that he had a sense of impending disaster. He felt that his worldview seemed to be challenged again. And sure enough, the young man blinked his eyes and asked smoothly, "After death, no matter what, I will go to the arms of the dark gods, so why don't I live to rebel against the gods, and then use my own actions to prove that I am far more powerful than all the trash who have received the grace of God? Even on the side of order, I can even defeat the strong with the weak. I will better show my strength and beauty, and wait until I die to be crowned the most powerful warrior, right? You also said that everything is a great game for the gods here, so why don't I show a more valuable side? Right? Isn't it right? It seems right, but it also seems wrong." With all kinds of messy thoughts filling his mind, Ulfric finally gave up thinking, patted his head, stood up, and saluted the boy. "I, Monster Hunter Ulfric, and our hunting fleet will listen to the voice of the gods you convey, Son of the Star, but I hope you can temporarily curb your terrifying wisdom and at least listen to the opinions of us mortals. I think I am good at listening and improving." "That's good. You don't understand the world now, and you still need our assistance. That's all, really. As for those who oppose you, we will deal with them. Believe me, I understand. Waiting for your news." "Yes, Son of the Star, I will take care of it." It can be said that he almost fled in panic. Ulfric exhaled deeply, pushed open the door, and walked angrily towards the team outside. But Ulfric did not notice that after he pushed open the door and left, the boy behind him suddenly relaxed his eyes. The young man with a calm, machine-like face already had unnatural beads of sweat on his back due to nervousness. Chapter 2. The Age of Advent. Did he believe it? Did he fool himself? Seeing Ulfric, the son of the stars, the blessed one from the sky, walking out of the room angrily, patting his head, Leon, who was currently sitting on a chair in the wooden house, breathed a sigh of relief. He was pretending. What about not understanding the ethical concepts of human society? What about the efficient way of sacrifice? What about theoretical correctness? All of this was Leon's own pretending, for Ulfric to see. As a descender who descended into this world, he could only pretend to be a person given by God in the true sense, and use faith and disguise to create himself into a natural leader. Because once he showed weakness and incompetence, these people would not have the slightest mercy. But descending to this frozen wasteland at the beginning, surrounded by looters, isn't this a bit too difficult? If I hadn't pretended, I would have been killed as a slave long ago, right? Closing his eyes and pretending that he had no emotions at all, Leon began to sit on the chair like a machine. Only in his heart he began to review his performance along the way. Liang is a descender. 5 years ago, with a loud bang, everyone in Liang's world had the ability to descend to other worlds. After the early chaos and disorder, people quickly summed up some characteristics. Most of the time, humans descended in cities or areas where civilizations gathered, but the more dangerous the place, the more generous the rewards. Every descender will encounter a certain degree of danger and hostility after descending, and after using the innate talents and judgment after descending, it will be easy to survive. Then you can go on to gain glory and ability in this wonderful world. It sounds simple, right? But on the way here, Liang saw with his own eyes what the seemingly honest man just did. He was killing people, killing some slaves in his fleet, because the slaves worked a little slower in this icy and snowy place. He killed a few of the weak men lightly and hung their bleeding heads on wooden stakes as a punishment. On the cold coastline, countless slaves with rough wood and stone shackles were dismantling the damaged longboats on the edge of the coast, and a rough dock and town were built along the shore. The best house among them was the one where Leon was now. The reason why these Norse robbers killed people was also very simple, because they were blown off the route by the storm of the gods. The ship was damaged, and they could only dismantle some longboats to make up for the gap. So some slaves, and even some Norsemen, were destined to be unable to leave on the longboat, so killing and screaming, and cruel violence were natural choices, because if you don't do this, you can't survive. There is not enough food, the longboat is damaged, the route is unknown, and there is nothing to hunt around. So it is reasonable to kill some slaves, shock them and use them. For the Norsemen, it is as instinctive as eating and drinking water. After all, Leon can't expect a civilization that lives on slavery and robbery to have strong compassion and sympathy. So after Leon judged the origins and mentality of these people, he pretended to know nothing, pretending to be as cold and ruthless as a machine, pretending to be a cold machine blessed by the dark gods and not knowing human suffering and emotions in everyone's impression. Only such an image and rhetoric can make these people who still survived tenaciously in the cold wind believe that he is indeed the son of the stars who came from the sky. He is the morning star who came to save them and bring them out of despair, and the savior who can free them from the cold earth. Only such a cold, brutal, and efficient image can shock these uneducated slave owners. But Leon did not lie. He can indeed save these suffering people from despair. Listening to the screams and wails faintly coming from outside the door, Leon felt that as the hostility towards him dissipated, a picture gradually condensed in his consciousness. The picture of the descender that he had seen in countless studies before the Advent. A translucent panel appeared in his consciousness. Leon, child of the stars, strength, 1 constitution, 1 agility, 1 perception, 1 talent, communication mastery. You can communicate with the other party in any language. Skills, none. Evaluation, you have just arrived in this world for less than a day. What else do you want? Apostrophe. A simple and clean panel, even a little crude. If it was just such a panel, then after a period of action, the Norskans who found that there was no way out of the predicament would definitely make him into a blood eagle and hang it on the bow as a decoration. But Leon is confident, because compared with other ordinary inventors, he has another advantage. He has not 1 talent, but 2. After the soul of the other world and the soul of this world merged into one, a brand new talent was born, which is his real confidence. I killed all the opponents, child of the stars. Ulfric pushed open the door and threw a few round things in his hand in front of Leon. The terrified head showed the Norseman that Leon had seen before, who had expressed doubts and hatred towards him on the road. Ulfric, covered in blood, took a breath as he looked at the heads rolling on the ground, and then looked at Leon sitting on the chair in front of him and asked in a deep voice, I have completed my task, so please give me your instructions. Looking at the man who rolled to his feet and died just because of his words, facing the pupils that had lost their luster, Leon slowly closed his eyes. The moment the system voice sounded in his mind, the originally timid Leon had already died. An unprecedented sense of security and confidence in the future emerged in his heart. All opponents in the gathering place are dead. Pre-task: the gathering place of the crowd has been completed. A planet leave a wonder, possibly an unnatural wonder, and some raw materials will appear around your first gathering place in a reasonable way. Please let your explorers explore your initial landing place. The explorer you currently have is Monster Hunter Ulfric. Go to the back of the cliff where I landed. Just cross that hill and wait for a while, and you will get the answer. Looking at the man covered in blood, Leon opened his eyes and said calmly, Chapter 3 Civilization. Sigwart, bring some people with me. Let's go. Where to? As the Star Child said, let's go to the cliff to see what's there. The Norskans are bold and straightforward. After deciding on something, they often don't hesitate or hesitate too much, but take people to act very straightforwardly. After leaving some Norskan raiders in the village, Ulfric led a team of 12 people and began to move towards the cliff, and the rest of the people were also asked to obey Leon's orders. Sitting in the warm room, Leon looked up at the Norskans who left in animal skins, and a series of system prompts sounded in his mind again. It was not until now, after Ulfric left, that Leon completely activated the system in his mind. The pre-task has been completed. The system is activated. Your explorer, Monster Hunter. Ulfric has set off. Your village has been established. The system function has been enabled. After the settlement is established, a certain sphere of influence can be established. After the land is included in the sphere of influence, it will provide bonuses to all residents of this civilization within the sphere of influence. After the exploration of the land, all terrain and resources will be transferred to the system for settlement. When certain technologies are not completed, some resources and minerals will be considered hidden. If there are no other factors, they will not be included in the settlement. The civilization you lead is, Norse Khan's current national characteristics, living by plunder, worship of dark gods, born rebellious, following the strong, fishing and hunting traditions, nomadic nature technology tree integration completed special technology trees and environments have been detected, and the system is being compatible. Compatibility is complete, the system is initialized, please explore the system functions by yourself. From the first bud underwater to the present era, you have experienced a lot. Now start your greatest exploration, from the cradle of early civilization to the vast universe. After a series of prompts, Liang soon felt that his vision seemed to have turned into a very strange override mode. It was like looking down on the world from another angle. It was as if he had become the concept of civilization itself. He could see the slaves on the beach working hard despite the pain and hunger. He could also see the seemingly generous exchanges between the Norsemen, but they were suppressing their anxiety. And the 13 explorers heading to the top of the mountain, Leon could also feel their complicated emotions. That was the spirit of resigning themselves to fate after losing their own opinions. If we can't find anything, we'll go back and chop that guy up. Feeling the most essential emotions of the expedition team, Leon shook his head, and then raised his perspective to overlook this small gathering place called the landing point from the wider perspective. From Leon's high-altitude perspective, the area that can be seen at present is about 10 kilometers around. The whole world is like the civilization that Leon has played before, presenting the general terrain and resources divided by hexagonal grids. At the same time, a series of information also appeared in Leon's mind. Gathering place, unnamed, population, 211 status, nervous, uncertain, questioning cultural level, illiterate location, edge of unnamed ice and snow island current productivity, 1 current food, 1 your gathering place is short of food. Please assign food workers to replenish it as soon as possible. Technology, not yet enabled culture, not yet enabled. Looking at these values, Leon's mind began to quickly build relevant news and information. It must be said that the Norsemen's judgment was actually correct, except for the ocean. The remaining blocks are basically covered with snow. Their pessimism is not without reason. But after Leon's consciousness descended and carefully observed, he could still feel that the system gave a series of descriptions and suggestions. There are even solutions to some problems. This is the confidence that the system gave him. When he looked down at the white snowfield and the coast, his consciousness gave him the answer. Magic snowfield, the abnormal snowfield created by the precipitated magic wind. Almost no creatures can survive. In this freezing wasteland, only creatures mocked by the gods can survive in a strange way. After unlocking the magic transformation theory technology, you can transform your form in a short period of time. Magic ice, unnatural ice created by the precipitation of magic wind. It will not melt or dissolve into water. Long-term contact will cause mental damage to individuals. After unlocking the gunpowder technology or the magic bombardment technology, it can be destroyed or transformed into ocean land. Cursed ocean, an ocean tainted by curses and magic. It contains rich magical power and dark-style magic. People who travel on the ocean for a long time will gradually become irritable, angry, and aggressive. It can be purified through special means. Devilfish school, a school of fish cursed in the cursed ocean, which can be caught. Because there are no natural enemies, there are many of them and they will not escape and dissipate in the short term. Under the current technological environment, it can support 40 jobs. It can provide 15 tons of food and 5 units of magic sacrifice every day. Tip: you can assign personnel to work as fishermen at will, and the efficiency of fishing and cooking will not be affected. Assign personnel to work at will, it will not be affected. There may be something very remarkable here that can be used by oneself. Looking at the words on the system, Leon fell into deep thought. His brain quickly integrated some clues together, and then after thinking about it, he walked out of the room and greeted a Norseman who was knocking boards outside to build a wooden shed. "Hey, over there, come here, son of the star, are you looking for me?" The Norseman looked around and pointed at himself with some confusion. "Yes, That's you. Take about a dozen people with you and go fishing in a boat. Catch the ugly manta rays in the area about 2 hours away. Our food problem will be solved. Ha, son of the stars? Those fish are creatures cursed by the gods and cannot be eaten at all. Why can't they be eaten? Looking at the puzzled Norse Can in front of him, Leon smiled slightly and included the confused Norse Can in front of him as a fisherman. You should know whether it can be eaten or caught. Now, think carefully. The knowledge should already be in your mind. Just think about it a little bit. What the hell are you? Huh? The Norse Can in front of Leon first looked disapproving, then lowered his head to think about it, and then looked at Leon in front of him with a look of shock, because this illiterate man who couldn't read a single word actually had knowledge about the salvage, processing, and cooking of manta rays in his mind. It was as if he was born to be a great manta fisherman. After being granted this position, such knowledge will be retained forever. This is the grace of God. No, it is even more indescribable than the grace of God. Looking at the smiling Leon, the Norseman who stayed in the camp knelt down with a plop, kowtowed to Leon without hesitation, and then shouted loudly under the horrified eyes of others. Guys, anyone who still has the strength and has fishing experience, come with me to the sea. We can survive now. Manta rays are actually edible. The great star child has given us everything. We are the tribe favored by the gods. System prompt. Your settlement trust has begun to increase. Looking at the settlement value that has quickly increased to trust, Leon smiled slightly. He seemed to know how to play this game. Chapter 4. Is the person sitting in the snowy city a human? Seeing the Norsemen riding their longboats in surprise, kneeling before him, and then rowing towards the school of manta rays, Leon ignored the awe-inspiring gazes of the slaves and the remaining Norsemen, and returned to the room with his wolfskin cloak and sat down. Everything was cool, and it was in line with the requirements of a messenger of God who was not very smart. Of course, there might be problems, but who would question the value of his son of the star? He made the right bet again. Looking at the heads on the ground with their eyes wide open, Leon sat on the huge wooden chair and slowly closed his eyes. He could feel that the doubts and panic that had originally permeated the gathering place were rapidly dissipating, because his behavior was an unquestionable miracle. Any citizen can be switched to any position. In other words, it allows anyone to master the proficiency of a profession anytime and anywhere. With the support of this miracle, all doubts and confusions are pale. The knowledge has been given to you in your mind, so how can you still question it? Establishing prestige, at least making his image not just the pale image of the star child brought by Ulfric appear in front of all the Norse Kens and slaves. This is the first step Leon chose, because he has the ability to bring people a better life. Just being able to let people know how to catch manta rays and let people have some knowledge in their minds is enough to terrify the Norse Kens who live in a society close to primitive fishing and hunting, especially when there are really magic and gods in this world. As for the so-called risk of gods looking over, to be honest, Leon has never cared about these things. He cares more about the problem at hand. After having a civilization system, his consciousness and thoughts seem to have been instantly switched to the perspective of civilization itself. Instinctively began to want to use this deformed small gathering place in front of him to expand a great kingdom. It is better to say that since there is already a civilization system, what is the so-called power struggle? I will directly represent the gods, okay? In the final analysis, these are all small things, and the real things have already appeared in Leon's consciousness. The unrest in your city has been eliminated. All values will return to normal. Main quest. The first step into the world. Please develop the first urban area based on the current Sentry Tower, or assimilate a gathering place and create the first city. Rewards, 30 research points, 15 culture points, 5 magic points, 5 productivity points and a reasonable cultural relic. The rewards are very generous and very suitable for novices. Research points, as the name suggests, are points for improving the level of technology. After assimilating the values of the Norsekens, Leon found himself almost starting from the primitive era without any surprise. But looking at the research and culture options that unlock the conditions for formally establishing a city, Leon felt a little silent. Now this beachhead position is actually not a city at all. At most it is an outpost. It is still a gathering place that is created by the talent card of the Norscans. Live by plundering. This race has a special talent in plundering. Plunder gains increased by 20%. Dark gods worship. The magic talent and manipulation tendency of this race will tend to evil characteristics born to be rebellious. The loyalty of this race decreases very quickly. Follow the strong. This race has a very high support for a single leader fishing and hunting tradition. This race regards hunting and fishing as food plus one nomadic nature. This race can establish living gathering places, which are regarded as towns. The nature of the Norse people cannot be said to be very good. It can only be said that at first glance, it looks a bit inhuman, which is somewhat different from what Leon imagined at the beginning, but because of this, Leon can use some characteristics and abilities to create a unique image and position in a short period of time. Like now, if there is no doubt about the authority, then the rest is naturally to arrange the establishment of the city in the true sense. Without building a city, both the technology tree and the cultural tree are locked, and only the abilities that the Norse people already have can be used. From a rational point of view, the fastest speed to sit in the city is the best choice, because at a glance, the Norscans really have nothing except robbery and fishing and hunting, and their culture is even more terrible. It is a pipe dream to rely on the talents of the Norscans to develop and build a large civilization in a normal area. Whether they can have the concept of a city is another matter, so it is better to sit down and enjoy some benefits first. However, Leon does not want to build a city on this ice field. Using a bird's eye view to look around the environment around the beach, Leon sat on a chair in the wooden house and groaned unhappily. To be honest, with his current identity and ability, he might be in danger in the real outside world. From a safety perspective, 10 birds in the forest are not as good as 1 bird in the hand, and a stable city is the best choice. But Leon really doesn't want to urbanize in this place where no one is shitting, because there is really nothing there. Looking around, everything around is white. There is no food productivity, only patches of white snow, and not even an animal can be seen. In order to use this magical snowfield, the technology tree must be upgraded to magic change. But if you don't build a city, who knows where the magic power changes in the technology tree? Even the shore and the ocean are pitch black, with no signs of food and productivity. This means that the coastline does not have the most basic food and productivity, and only the plot of Manta Ray shows the signs of 2 food and 1 magic offering. If this seaside area is the center, sitting down here is a good way to look forward to the future, but it is a bit of a wait for death. It is a bit uncertain whether it can develop a population of 10,000 in this life. If you think about it in a positive way, Ulfric may explore the wonders of the planet, but there is no use for a wonder around the snowfield, and the snowfield does not increase the value. For terrain like the magic snowfield, no matter how it is operated, it actually has no meaning. There is no special production capacity, no future, no productivity, no food, and all around is ice and snow. It is better to use the characteristics of nomadic life directly and wait until you set sail again to explore other gathering places of Norscans before making plans. Just as Leon was thinking this, he felt something in his mind again. Reminder: your exploration team has arrived at the designated area. You have discovered the super large planetary wonder, only, the ancient saints experimental area. Suddenly, I felt that sitting in the city was not something unacceptable. Looking at the data that was refreshed like a waterfall in front of him, Liang, who was sitting on the chair, suddenly felt that it was not a problem to live in the snowfield out of thin air. Chapter 5. But there is a wonder here. Magic snowfield, or silent snowfield. In the mythology of the Norscans, people who arrived in this area generally had only 2 states. One was the waste abandoned by the gods, and the other was the divine revelation that the gods had high hopes for. As for the Norscan expedition team that was currently trekking on the snowfield and climbing that small hill, they believed that they were the people chosen by the gods, because their leader, the great monster hunter Ulfric, brought a son of God from the starlight to guide them to find greater traces. For the Norscans who believed in the dark gods, they were undoubtedly walking on the road of legend. Ulfric was a great monster hunter, even the most powerful monster hunter in Norska in recent decades or even hundreds of years. Therefore, There was no doubt that Ulfric had received the blessing of the gods and brought the incarnation of the gods and even the guide. Moreover, the dozen people present were originally Ulfric's confidants, and they had no doubt that Ulfric's ability would bring about such a miracle. However, the situation was different for Ulfric himself and his friends who were walking behind. "Ulfric, do you think that boy is blessed by the gods?" The man with the wolfskin who had walked up to Ulfric and asked in a low voice. "I don't think that boy is the grace of the gods. I don't sense any blessing from the gods on him." Although the high priest was blocked by you, he was very dissatisfied. "This is blasphemy. What did you see?" "I don't think he is the grace of the gods, but I will observe." "What did you observe?" "That boy didn't speak our language at all." Carrying a giant axe and a giant sword, Ulfric was wearing a blood-stained leather armor, walking on the snow-capped peaks and whispered, "But I'm here, watching that boy fall." I understood what he said, but his lip shape is not Norse at all. He doesn't even have any trace of language. He just opens his mouth. ... Really? Really? Ulfric nodded calmly, looked at his friend with a stiff expression, walked behind him and whispered, "I watched him for more than 10 minutes. He thought he was disguised very well. It was like a monster in human skin who thought he was talking, but his voice did not come from his throat, but from his head, so he had better be the blessing of the gods. If not, I am not sure what it is, but it is not something we can understand. It is better to stay away from it." "Can't we kill him?" "From my feeling, there is probably not much point in killing him. He is not hostile, but he is not very scared either. His expression just thinks that death will waste time, so he tries to communicate with us. He also wants to leave here." Ulfric shook his head at his friend's question. "So I believe him. Understand? If that is your feeling, then I accept it. Of course, if we are deceived on this patrol, we will question it no matter what when we go back. We have no way out. We don't have enough boats and food, and there is not much drinking water. We can only take one step at a time, even if we are in the company of demons. So what? The Norse people have always been like this." Looking at the jubilant expedition team in front, Ulfric sighed and walked up. "The Norse Khans are a hunting and plundering race, so they are naturally good at it. Their technological level is far lower than that of the southern humans, but they can always find the enemy's weak points and carry out precise strikes and penetrations. They can't just rely on the so-called barbarian power." As a giant hunter, Ulfric is even confident that he is the best giant hunter in the entire Norse Khan race. He has considerable confidence in his cognition and feelings. The boy who fell from the sky did not have any hostility. On the contrary, when he looked at other people and slaves, he felt equal rather than hostility. The boy's eyes were full of love. Yes, love. A creepy love. It was not lust, possession, or pampering, but a pure and terrifying and vast love that hoped that the Norse Khans and slaves would continue. For Ulfric, he could feel that when the boy looked at the Norse Khans and slaves, the expression on his face was not so much that he was afraid of their death, but more that he was worried that they were missing something. He could feel that the boy's words about the desecration factory were fake, but if it was in their interest, he would really do it without hesitation. It was just that the terrifying love would be even more shocking if it was spoken out. So Ulfric kept silent, walking silently on the rugged mountain road. Ulfric and others soon arrived at the place where he saw Leon. "There is nothing here, it's still a snowy field. Have we been deceived?" The friend stood beside Ulfric, squinting his eyes and looking around and whispered, "No, I'm afraid not." Ulfric looked in a certain direction uncontrollably. The original endless snowfield and blizzard were split by an invisible sword at the moment when Ulfric's sight passed, and a huge gap was split. Countless huge metal structures seemed to be born from the blizzard, presenting the huge creation that far exceeded the worldview of the Norse Khans in front of them. And the moment Ulfric saw the huge metal creation, data like a waterfall appeared in Leon's mind. Planet level super large artificial wonder. Ancient Saints experimental area. Damaged. The first original experimental area built on this planet by a group of people called Ancient Saints by the natives of this planet, used as a research site for planetary transformation and biological transformation. Originally, the area was to be used as transformation device for this planet, but with the occurrence of some accidents, the experimental area was abandoned, and the ancient saints chose another plan to transform and repair the planet. The result is clear. They failed. This experimental area has also become a remnant of history. This wonder has a total of 11 stages of repair progress, each requiring different repair manpower and props consumption to repair. At this stage, it is dormant. This wonder will initially awaken after being incorporated into your sphere of influence. Any unit stationed in this wonder will receive 4 universal work points. The work points will be converted into any resources such as food, productivity, scientific research points, cultural points, precious metals, magic resources, etc. according to your needs. The initial number of jobs that can be provided by the wonder is 100. The remaining wonder functions need to be unlocked before further understanding. Convert the gathering place into a city. Now, the moment he saw the wonder value, Liang made his decision. Chapter 6 I am the son of the stars, the ruler of the old ones. In fact, Liang's system is a very complex system that is fully linked to the overall civilization. It is different from the simple and crude system that I have seen on some websites. Rather than saying it is a civilization system, it is like turning oneself into the soul of the entire civilization, into their soul, a living civilization, a proactive civilization. Compared to letting his body evolve and possess great power, Leon is now most interested in expanding his civilization and becoming the greatest civilization on this planet, and even the greatest civilization in the entire universe. Others are all one and all, and the individual is the power of civilization, but Leon is all one. Everything in civilization has become an extension of personal will. This feeling is wonderful and great. It even makes Leon have an illusion that he can do everything. But now there is one last problem that prevents his omnipotent power from spreading. The leader of your civilization, Monster Hunter Ulfric, has a question in his mind. Solve his doubts and you can get the loyalty of the hero Ulfric, and unlock the option of building a city for the Norsecans. Wait for him to come back. What else can I do? Looking at the huge wonders symbol displayed in the system, and the tempting jobs on it, Leon could only sit in the wooden house, waiting for the return of Ulfric's expedition. However, he was not idle, but carefully studied the system on his body that seemed to be integrated with his soul, and the series of annotations and prompts, as well as related information, were gradually presented in front of Leon, allowing him to have a deeper understanding of his civilization system. Food, productivity, and magic. These are the 3 basic values that Leon can see at present. As the name suggests, the first 2 represent the totalization of survival and development. But the last, magic, is a very strange option in Leon's eyes, because it is linked to the mood of the environment. In Leon's system, the more people's emotions go to certain places, the gathering place itself will gather some different magic output. When people's emotions are stable, there is not much magic to produce, and the ups and downs just now have even brought Leon 4 points of magic output. But what exactly can magic do and what role it has, Leon is still not very clear. However, Leon had a very clear feeling that magic might be more effective than he thought, and the series of marks behind the planetary wonder also made Leon feel relieved. Planet, wonder, alien. This means that he can't be limited to this planet. The vastness of this world is even far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. As long as he thought of this, Leon had endless motivation to carefully observe the small territory in his hands, and the more he looked, the happier he felt. Although he didn't do anything, it also meant safety. Although there were no living people, it also meant that he could hold back his big move, right? With a universal transformation urban wonder, plus strange things like magic, Leon believed that he could indeed lead the Norse people out of the predicament. There was no reason that he, a cheater, could be stopped here by such an environment. He couldn't get out even though he was cheating, which was a bit unreasonable. At most, he could hold people in the wonder to make a paradise. Anyway, seeing that there were many women among the slaves, reproduction should be no problem. Although he had many ideas about slaves and the environment before, after awakening the system, Leon quickly brought in his role. After studying for a while, he heard a burst of hurried footsteps coming from outside. Ulfric quickly pushed the door open and looked at Leon. who was sitting on the chair with a calm face. His face flushed and he opened his mouth, as if he wanted to say something, but he couldn't say it because of some shock. Looking up at Ulfric, whose expression was a little fragmented, Leon knew very well why he had such an expression. After all, the primitive man looked up and saw the interstellar base directly with such an expression. When he saw it, Leon also sat in the chair for a long time, but he recovered quickly. So he looked at Ulfric, who had an extremely uncomfortable expression, grinned, and showed a meaningful expression. "You are back? You should have seen what I want you to see, right? Yes, Star Child." Ulfric swallowed his saliva, then sighed, and pulled a stool over and sat on it. "I know you are not an ordinary person, and I also know you have great power. But why do you come to us? What can we Norscans do for you? You have faith but are confused by my existence. I can feel the confusion and uneasiness in your heart, but I have proved my ability. Are you interested in chatting, Ulfric? I hope to bring you a better future. Believe me, this is my goal and my only idea." Looking at the tall illiterate in front of him, Leon sat on the chair and smiled and began to talk nonsense. "Since you want to do big things, you might as well take all the initiative in your hands from the beginning. Decentralization, trust, help, these things are meaningless in front of the system. If it is an ordinary system, Leon must find the safest and simplest way to do it. But with the civilization system, what Leon needs now is to make this civilization have only his voice. Then the simplest way is to use the unquestionable miracles and abilities to completely control these individuals with the image of gods in their minds. Just like now." So after thinking about it, Leon smiled at the somewhat bewildered Norscan and said kindly, "Your meeting with me is a part of fate, Ulfric." "Fate?" "That's right. When this world was in chaos, before the arrival of the ancient saints and more distant creatures, I once made a contract with primitive humans. Because I am a pioneer, I am the absolute. I will give you beauty." Leon opened the panel, looked at the description and logo of the natural wonders, and then pasted the information on himself without hesitation. "Because I am the ruler of the old days, I am the son of the stars, you will carry my blessings and become the people of the stars. I will give the greatest kindness to all humans on this planet in my own way, and I will also give you the best future. This is the contract I made with humans, and you are my first batch of preachers of the gospel." Looking at the human race cleanliness symbol in the prompt that reduced 80% of various indicators of interracial combination, Leon looked at Ulfric, who was not very smart in front of him, and said naturally, "Chapter 7 The First City, Landing Place." Leon told Ulfric a story. It was about an interstellar traveler who accidentally fell onto this world at the beginning of the creation of this world. After being rescued by humans, he left the planet and vowed to bring humans to the outside of the planet. In order to prove his rationality and dialectic, Leon deliberately took out a lot of historical materials and relevant data given by the system for argumentation. He did come from outside the stars, and he believed that the Norscans and this fleet were the most suitable team for him. But it was obvious that Ulfric didn't understand what Leon was talking about. Although he said he understood it, the numb look on his face showed that he didn't understand it at all. He might not even know what Leon meant by the star traveler. After all, you can't expect an illiterate person to quickly understand things like stars and great stories. Leon's mess of terms was just his own imagination. Sitting on the chair, Leon and Ulfric stared at each other for a while, and then prepared to solve the problem of trust and confusion in the most straightforward way. "Ulfric, do you know that manta rays are edible?" "I don't know." "Well, now you know." Leon pulled Ulfric to the fisherman's position, and then looked at Ulfric and pointed at his head. "Now that knowledge should be in your head. You should be an excellent manta ray hunter now, and you can handle the meat of manta rays skillfully. Fuck. Why? Because I can. As long as you believe in me, I can do more things. All you need to pay is loyalty." Looking at the stunned Ulfric, Leon sat on the wooden chair and pulled the wolf skin on his body, smiling and said, "As long as you believe in me wholeheartedly, you can get more miracles." "What about food? Is there enough food? At least I don't think you can starve." "I can't think of such a possibility. Your will is the direction of my progress, Star Child. I will offer my loyalty to you." Looking at Ulfric, who knelt down without hesitation, Two reminders instantly sounded in Leon's heart. Monster Hunter. Ulfric is no longer confused. Apostrophe You can now build a Norse city. Apostrophe Tip. The Norse are not a civilization you created on your own. If you want to form your own civilization faction, you need to make subsequent efforts. Apostrophe Your civilization construction currently lacks man-made wonders, not necessary, population, cognitive turning point, cultural recognition, second city or spreading area. Apostrophe Please work harder. Apostrophe Are you hungry? Looking at Wulfric, who suddenly realized and offered his loyalty, Leon sat on the chair and clicked the glittering button in the consciousness space without hesitation. Your first task has been completed. Apostrophe Main task. The first step to step into the world. Please develop the first urban area based on the current sentry tower, or assimilate a gathering place and create the first city. Apostrophe Reward. 30 research points, 15 culture points, 5 magic points, 5 productivity points and a reasonable cultural relic. Please name your city. Apostrophe So, Son of the Star, what is the name of our city? Let's call it Descent. Facing the double inquiry, Leon gave a straightforward answer. The place where I descended again, a place worth remembering. Let's call this city Descent. I believe that Descent will definitely become an unimaginable great city, shining with immortal glory in the history of your human race. I think so too. Then I will ask my brothers to dismantle the longship first, and live here permanently. Who said we live on this beach? Then, why don't we just treat the steel area you saw as a city? Leon looked at the seemingly stupid Ulfric with a strange look on his face, and gave his answer naturally. That's a place I know very well. It's very safe. You should think more actively in the future. Now you leave a few people to deal with the fish that the fleet may send over, and we will move there directly. There is a ready-made area. Why stay here? But these slaves, I understand. I will take care of them. They are also our brothers and sisters. Yeah, I understand. Nodding to Ulfric, who looked solemn, Leon followed him out and walked towards the broken world wonder in wolfskin. Although he was very curious about what Ulfric, who turned around and left and started to shout outside, understood, Leon was more concerned about how his reward appeared. What exactly is a cultural relic that appears in a reasonable way? And is the cultural relic of this world view really normal? Leon stood on the road, looking at the sparse crowd, and his consciousness was immersed in the map again. Now that the name and location of the city have been decided, the city's logo has appeared at the location of the broken world wonder. A group of little people, led by Ulfric, are gradually moving towards the wonder like ants moving house, carrying props. However, although the dotted line has been drawn, the actual situation is that Ulfric led the remaining brothers to scold the slaves, carrying large and small bags of property and a large number of boxes, and walked miserably into the depths of the snowy mountains under the command. Some people even sobbed softly, thinking that they might be frozen to death in the snow. At this moment, a slave holding a small box that looked exquisite suddenly slipped and fell to the ground. The small box with the seal flashed for a moment on the snow of the magic snowfield, and then the seal full of sunshine dissipated like bubbles. Under the surprised eyes of Ulfric and Leon, the contents of the box were instantly thrown out. Then, with a graceful amplitude, it fell directly at Leon's feet. The system instantly gave an explanation. The Holy Grail of the Lady of the Lake cultural wonder, legend. After the holder places it in the safe position, all members of the sphere of influence will be given the energetic special effect. All city-states have a 30% bonus to culture, and at the same time, they produce 5 points of culture. All residents have a chance to be summoned as kingdom knights. Apostrophe It can be defiled, transformed, and distorted. Once preserved in the Knights' Kingdoms, the Holy Grail of the goddess only appeared in the ceremony of awarding the highest knight. During the undead craze 100 years ago, the necromancer Andrew broke into the monastery of the goddess and looted it. But for some reason, Andrew did not defile the Holy Grail, but stored it in the monasteries of the southern countries. Now it has been looted by the giant beast hunter Ulfric, who broke the seal. Apostrophe After 2 months, the Holy Grail of the Lady of the Lake will naturally release its breath. At that time, 1 to 3 knights will begin a chivalrous expedition for the Holy Grail of the Lady of the Lake. Please pay attention. The breath of the Holy Grail can be sealed when magic manipulation technology is reached. What is this? Is it a bit too reasonable for a relic to appear in a reasonable way? Looking at the Holy Grail shining in the looted gold and silver jewelry, Leon didn't even know what to say for a moment. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8: Technology, Culture, and Magic. Unlike the small wonders in his imagination, what really appeared in front of Leon was a huge steel structure that was almost impossible to explore. Even if he had decided to move the settlement area and suddenly moved all the population to this huge steel city, in Leon's cognition, this only occupied about 1/1000th of the entire Old Saints experimental area, except for the exposed part on the surface that the monster hunter Ulfric explored at the beginning. Most of the ruins were hidden under the snow. Even the part that was not hidden was blocked by a mysterious force. Only the first part could accommodate these people and related jobs. Fortunately, even if only a part was exposed on the surface, there was enough living space for thousands of people. All the slaves and Norscans who were transferred were shocked by the wonders of the planet on the snow, and then were shocked by Leon's supreme power, and they surrendered to his infinite power very neatly, especially when these illiterate people inexplicably knew how to operate a large number of rooms in the ruins, and began to use this unimaginable great creation to create some food and props out of thin air. A strange atmosphere enveloped these people's hearts. The wind and snow outside could not interfere with this great transcendent miracle at all. Even the slaves could get a room that belonged to them completely in this great structure that could be said to be a dream come true. And hundreds of jobs easily created countless of the most delicious food and their impressions out of thin air. What is this? This is heaven. The great son of the stars? The heaven given to them by the old ones. Although the high priest of Norska was still in a coma, the matter was probably settled. In the face of such a miracle, the high priest would not object to anything. Or rather, there was no point in objecting. However, the slaves and Norscans only needed to work and eat here, but Leon, who locked himself up on the top floor and called himself to operate, had a lot more things to think about. You really don't have any technology at all. Sitting in the sealed room, Leon closed his eyes and felt the feeling of relaxation brought by the ancient sane technology, as if he was deeply immersed in the universe. He was a little speechless when facing the feedback given by his system. Since the city has been built, the technology tree and culture have been unlocked. Leon also saw the current technological and cultural achievements of the Norse people. It can only be said that his worst expectation at the beginning has come true. In terms of the technology tree, except for the most basic navigation and ocean, keel ships, and trade, all basic technologies including basic permanent buildings are in an unlit state. They even only lit up half of the written language. The unfinished appearance of the technology tree made Leon feel deeply shocked. How can such an ocean-going civilization be formed without language? Is it all based on robbery? And the cultural aspect is even more amazing. He doesn't have it. Yes, literally, in front of Leon. The cultural output and promotion of the Norse people and the land of descendants are pure zero. Norska has no regular cultural output at all, and they don't have any culture at all. If you insist, the most primitive eating, drinking, defecating and surviving is their culture. Primitive tribes belong to this, but what Leon cares about more is that although the culture is zero, the magic is not. Magic points are both a value that can be mobilized and a prop that can be materialized. In Leon's cognition, this should be equivalent to faith. A whole series of technology trees are arranged separately on it, and the Norsemen obviously have a certain level of attainment in it. Cognition of extraordinary things, magic cognition, barbaric witchcraft, praise the dark gods, cognition of gods, and some branch options about the dark gods are lit up. Compared with other incomplete sciences and cultures, the Norsemen have their own unique understanding of magic. It's just that for some reason, the branch options of barbaric witchcraft, the wind of magic and the spell slot have two branches, which the Norsemen have not selected at all. But this does not prevent Leon from being satisfied with the magic option, because as long as he has the promotion of magic cognition, he will see the first wonder he can build. Magic cognition has been learned. Due to magical cognition, the wonders that may be built are Stonehenge. Magic. Introduction. People forge stones from the earth and mountains by instinct, pray to the unknown existence, and the void will respond to them. This is the original magic. The effect of Stonehenge. Magic. After it is built, it will gather the magic elements within a radius of 100 kilometers around the wonder, which is equivalent to magic manipulation. At the same time, Stonehenge draws energy from the void and produces 200 magic points per day. It can provide unlimited researchers for magic research and provide 1 magic point. Requirements. Stone building materials can be obtained by cutting mountains or mountain terrain. 400 points of productivity. A leader in the direction of force, already owned, and the population has any magic or faith talent because of the uniqueness of the wonder. It may cause disturbance to the environment. Please pay attention. A very simple wonder, and it is also the first wonder that Leon has seen that he can create by himself, as long as the construction is successful. The surrounding magical snowfields can be transformed into some living spaces, and even more rich terrains and areas can be created. But what really caught Leon's attention was that there was another piece of news about his huge variety of characters and needs. Planet-level super-large man-made wonder. Ancient Saints experimental area. Damaged. The first ring of the repair task. Learn magic manipulation technology, or production options that can be regarded as magic operations in the area. Repair target. 1200 magic points are required after completing the first phase of the repair task. Part of the experimental area will be unlocked, bringing more effects. The value of the production position is increased by 2 points, and the experimental area provides certain basic strengthening functions, and negative characteristics of the population can be removed through actions. Because of the uniqueness of the wonder, the repair project may cause disturbances to the environment. Please pay attention. Wouldn't it seem a bit radical to build a wonder as the first thing after building a city? If we temporarily give up the progress of science and culture and use all the population and productivity to build Stonehenge, we can create a wonder very quickly. But is it worth it? Immersed in the void, Leon looked at the picture of his small city and fell into a wonderful contemplation. Then he came to a conclusion in less than a second. Ulfric, take a few dozen people to build a Stonehenge for me now. Hurry up. We go build it now. There is a magical snowfield outside. Ulfric, who was called into the room, looked at the blizzard outside and pointed at himself in amazement. Chapter 9. Wonder Building. Stonehenge. Polar night is a phenomenon that often occurs in the polar circle. Sunlight will not penetrate the curtain of the dark gods. The evil twin moons always emit purple and blue light in the sky, spreading curses to the whole world. The dancing and twisted aurora in the night sky represents the laughter and disdain of the dark gods. They use the most beautiful gestures to forge the most terrifying malice in the world to remind all humans what they should look like in this world. During the polar night, the Norse people often hide in the room. They will pray in front of their idols and pray that the dark gods will have some mercy on their humble selves. Countless sins and cruel atrocities spread in the eternal night. The evil beasts in the nightmare legend are rampant and crush the hopes of all the Norse people. It is precisely because of living in this icy and morbid world that the Norse people are so crazy and cruel. They will do everything they can to keep their own population alive, even if they have to sacrifice other populations and make the future unclear. But this phenomenon strangely dissipated on the island at the pole. It was clearly night, the most exciting time for all twisted creations, and even the ripple-like aurora was shining in the sky. But the Norse-cans stood on the snow and hills without any sense of being corrupted, looking at the double moons and the brilliant aurora in the sky. The light that could twist and mutate humans into egg-shaped objects no longer had that evil magic. It was like a kind of lighting, a natural phenomenon. The light green light covered the snowfield and hills, illuminating the figures of the busy Norse-cans. They held invisible props in the ice and snow, looked at the dark hills with their own thoughts, and then pulled large pieces of rock out of the mountains out of thin air. The Norskans who accepted Leon's order were using their full understanding of the productivity creations of the ancient saint laboratory to pull out huge pieces of rock from the hills and gradually stand on the snowfield. These black rocks floated in the air against common sense, shining with the aurora forged by the gods in the sky. People below used the productivity of nothingness to forge the magnificent wonders in their minds. Stones began to float and sink in the void. As the boulders were gradually built, everyone even felt that there seemed to be some strange, whispering voices around them. The construction of the great wonder was affecting all the magical energy around, and even caused a slight fluctuation in the curtain of reality and illusion. The demons in the void whispered, and their malicious eyes were enough to make any unprepared ordinary people scream madly. However, for these Norskans who were manipulating the creations of the ancient saints, the demons' eyes were so ridiculous. They were practicing the will of the old lords, and no one could stop them. I thought I was dead at first. Ulfric, the man with the wolfskin who'd burped loudly, stood beside Ulfric with a relaxed look, looked at the floating stone circle in the sky and said with a smile, "It's hard to imagine that not even a day has passed. In the morning we were still worrying about lunch, but now we are enjoying the food of the gods and manipulating mythical props to create wonders." Indeed, I even thought he wanted us to become sacrifices after we were full and drunk. Looking at the huge stones trembling and emitting strange magic under the green aurora, Ulfric felt the instinct of manipulation in his mind and took a deep breath on the ice field. This was something that was impossible in the past. When the aurora comes and the two moons rise together, all negative emotions and thoughts will turn into nightmares to erode people's hearts. But what about now? The Norskans eat the best food in their dreams, manipulate the invisible power, and begin to forge the great wonders in the legend. And there will be no problem even under the moon. There is probably only one answer, because he is a god, although he is definitely not a god who understands human hearts. Some fragments fell off in midair, and indescribable patterns began to shine on the floating boulder. Ulfric manipulated his tools and said with certainty, "He is completely unable to understand the existence of human hearts. That's how I feel. He simply cannot resonate with us." Maybe he just doesn't care? He should care, at least when he said that the contract and promise to love humans should not be false. But I always feel that his love seems to have some problems. You have given us such a great grace, and you still say this. Isn't it a bit too much? Of course I know it's too much, but all this is inexplicable. Looking at the floating boulder in the sky that was gradually peeling off the surface and branded with mysterious patterns, Ulfric even gritted his teeth. If he really loves us, then at least we shouldn't come out here in the middle of the night to build a stone circle for no reason. Even, damn it, why do we know how to build a stone circle? Why do I know how to use these tools of the gods to trim stones? I feel like I'm more familiar with building this thing than touching a woman. I just hope today is not a dream. Ulfric, if it is a dream, it would be too cruel for us. Of course it's not a dream. No one's dream is so noisy. Listening to the increasingly clear whispers from another world, Ulfric's cheek twitched, revealing a somewhat dissatisfied expression. After all, in order to build this stone circle, we still have to exercise. And the moment Ulfric's voice fell, a huge crack suddenly tore open in the center of the snowfield surrounded by all the boulders. From the crack that was completely unlike a natural creation came a terrifying and vicious breath, and a huge demon that was even several meters tall came out of the crack, cursing. His eyes were like sulfur flames, and his voice was like a vicious curse. The surroundings were filled with exploding shadows. Even the mere footprints on the snowfield set the snowfield on fire with the fierce brutality and magic. The giant monster looked at the pumice and Norskans around him and roared in anger. "You really don't know how to live or die, humans. How dare you lock all the magic around you? How dare you be so bold? I think this has nothing to do with us." Ulfric took off the giant sword behind him and shrugged at the roaring giant demon. "After all, we are just following orders. I don't know why this thing has to do this and what it can accomplish. But you are going to die." "What? How dare you?" A lowly insect before the huge shadow that came out of the void could roar. The sword in Ulfric's hand was thrown out in an instant, and pierced through the skull of the tall demon in the blink of an eye. The huge burning demon, several meters high, fell to the ground without a sound. The Norscans present looked at this scene without any surprise and continued to build the floating stone circle. There were two reasons. The first reason was that in their architectural knowledge, in order to forge this great magic stone circle, each stone needed a huge demon to provide energy for operation. This was a necessary construction process. The second reason was even simpler. They felt that no one could beat Ulfric. If you have any opinions, go to our boss, Demon Brother. I am just a worker. But it seems that you only dare to go to me. Stepping on the huge head of the demon, Ulfric slowly pulled out the giant sword from its brain and commented indifferently, and the dead demon turned into a handful of shadows in the blink of an eye, howling in an unnatural form, and was involved in the floating stones in the sky, and instantly turned into a brand, shining with light. There are 10 left. Dragging the long sword aside and placing it on the stone, Ulfric sat on the edge, took out his treasured wine from his bosom and took a sip, and slowly let out a sigh of relief. Damn, it's better to drink in the land of Advent, bathed in the light of the evil moon, Ulfric commented somewhat indignantly, and soon, the soft and fragmented whispers sounded again in his ears. The construction is about to begin again. Please talk to everyone, post some posts to interact. If you think it's good, please recommend it. It's better to keep reading it, don't keep reading it. This is really important to me. Thank you. Chapter 10. Let's go back first. There's a person stewing in the pot. It's really all magic, nothing else. Looking at the Holy Grail floating in his hand, emitting countless lights, Leon raised his eyebrows in surprise. Compared with the holy objects in his impression, the holy object in Leon's hand now obviously has a more unique function, and it can even be said to have a direct impact on the entire territory. The interior of this exquisite and beautiful golden cup is always filled with emerald green liquid, and countless magical ores are captured by the territory and spread throughout the territory in an incomprehensible way, replenishing the physical energy of everyone. Similarly, this is also the reason why Leon asked those Norscans to work. Staying energetic all the time may not look good, but it is actually an incredible strength. The energy brought by the Holy Grail can even make people feel no fatigue on the battlefield, so it is obvious that there is no problem with going to work. Facts have also proved that he did not make a wrong judgment. The only regret is that being energetic can only shorten part of the sleep time, and cannot eliminate the sleep time. After all, sleep time is the self-maintenance of the human body, and being energetic is just physical strength, and the two cannot be interchanged. But this is also a focus. If only one Holy Grail can bring such strength, then what kind of strength and ability can all the magic races in this world, as well as their wonders and props, bring? Although there are negative effects, such as the expedition of the overseas chivalrous knights to the Holy Grail in 2 months, but Leon doesn't care about this. To put it bluntly, I'm already cheating and you're telling me this. This is given by my cheating. I have to endure it when I cheat, and I have to be humble to others, and I have to shut up about the overall situation. I'm already cheating, and I don't care about my face, and you tell me this. I'm humble without cheating, and I'm still humble with cheating. So isn't my cheating in vain? The landing place that holds the wonders of the planet and is even creating wonders now will definitely become an unimaginable great city in the time that Leon can predict. What can a group of knights do? Night Titan is another matter. Continuing to enjoy the hyperspace brought by the core area of the ancient saints, Leon felt his spirit extending across the vast territory and closed his eyes somewhat comfortably. But not long after, a reminder from another system interrupted his thoughts. Your survival time has exceeded 12 hours. Please prepare to be teleported. Ah, time is almost up. Happy times are always short. Leon, who was floating in the air, changed his face, and thought of another part of his settings unhappily. He is not the incarnation of the civilization consciousness of the Norskit tribe, nor is he the true will of civilization. He is the inventor of this world. He still has to report back later. TSK, I must have the ability to transport will in the future. Leon was somewhat unhappy to be released from the zero-gravity mode. And at the moment when the network dissipated, he saw a middle-aged man standing at the door with a nervous face. The moment he found that the invisible position had dissipated, the man was startled, but he still instinctively straightened his chest and raised his head, smoothed his dry and yellow hair, and looked at the bored Leon with a decent smile. "Hello, sir, I am O. Are you the prisoner brought by the Norsemen?" "Yes, yes." The man was wearing clothes that were obviously just made. Looking at Leon in front of him, who seemed a little restrained, he gave an awkward smile. I am indeed a person brought by the Norsemen, sir, but I am also a firm believer in the Lady of the Lake. If you don't mind, I would like to introduce you to the Lady of the Lake we worship. I don't care much about this kind of thing, and my relationship with humans will not be severed because of faith, but I have to leave for a while. Tell those Norsemen that after completing the Stonehenge, they will explore the outside world more. Looking at the stunned man, Leon shrugged and said directly, "Humans are an extension of my will. In other words, I have no way of understanding this world, and I still need you to help me. We are one, understand?" "But, sir, that's it, I'll leave first." Patting the horrified man on the shoulder, Leon walked into the secret room without hesitation. Then looking at the surprised man, he instantly locked the room's authority, and then disconnected his consciousness without hesitation. The moment the spiritual realm was disconnected, it was as if countless light years had been crossed in the blink of an eye, as if it was flowing uninterruptedly in a huge system. The sight and environment in front of him were instantly distorted into a bubble, and then reconstructed in front of Leon. The ancient sage's secret room, which was originally full of science fiction, turned into a dense area in the blink of an eye. That was the structure of the lecture hall that Leon was very familiar with in his previous life. It was also the structure that he hated most in this life. Boring world. Leon sighed in his heart, and dozens of people were sitting on chairs, turning around and looking at Leon, who opened his eyes with subtle expressions. Without even thinking, Leon knew that he might be the last individual to find the secret room and wake up. And this situation often means that the environment he is in is extremely unsafe. Among the crowd looking at each other, the male student who looked the most sunny showed a smile that seemed very warm and stretched out his palm to the silent Leon. "Leon, can you tell me about your crossing mark and area? If we are lucky, we may become companions." Norse people, dragon boat captives, and snowfields with no living things. The most typical high-risk area. And stranded. No, it's okay, we will encounter it in the future. The boy sitting in front suddenly showed a subtle expression, but couldn't suppress his smug joy. The resources that a class can get are limited. In the pioneering period when resources are scarce, only those who stick together in large cities of mankind can get resource location and exchange of bottom-level information. Unlucky people like Leon who were born in the snowfields of Norse have basically been listed as untouchables. And Leon himself sighed in a sociable manner and stood up without hesitation. "Sorry, I'm leaving first." After making a move that met the expectations of these competitors, Leon shook his head and left the classroom under the subtle gaze of everyone. "Wait a minute, there's a teacher's declaration of help. Maybe there's some money." "Shut up. Don't waste it," the boy in the back shouted nervously, but was held down by others. After taking a look at the individuals he finally called his classmates, Liang shook his head and walked out of this place he called school without changing his expression. Chapter 11. The area I am in is very dangerous and I need help from wonders. In the Advent era, those who are lucky enough to be born in civilized areas often receive unified funding from the Advent organization. Everyone will be allocated a certain amount of supplies and survival items, but the amount allocated is extremely limited, because most of the Adventers do not have the ability to work or communicate. Although they have been trained and understood in school, there are only a few people who can speak the language of the other world clearly. Most people need to be trained in the other world after Advent, and start their second life with the supplies distributed by the school and society. This is why the teacher has to give a speech and warning later. Of course, unlucky people like Leon who were born in the Norska ice field are completely out of the welfare range. Out of the campus, there are not a few students like Leon who left midway. Many unlucky people were born in dangerous areas like Leon. Even looking at some students with tired expressions, I am afraid they will be in boxes after landing. Some parents who were waiting outside showed some disappointment when they saw their children coming out early, but they didn't say anything, just took their children away in silence. In such a short period of time, Although there have been certain arrangements and actions and ideas for exploring the other world, most people still follow the inertia of their past lives. They did not treat this matter as something too serious. But it was not the case for Liang. His departure was not because he was not good enough. On the contrary, he had long made up his mind to stay away from these adventures and develop on his own. With the buff of the parents' death, the unique living state of the classmates in the class of the Traversers, who were either beasts or mentally ill, and the more natural situation that the teachers of the Traversers were not good things, Liang's departure did not cause much movement. The teacher did not pursue it, and the classmates did not care. Liang walked all the way to his home and locked himself in the room. However, after a while, the boy covered in the quilt couldn't help laughing out loud. He, ha 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 ha. Laughing wildly at his situation in the quilt, Liang felt extremely high about it. After laughing wildly for a while, Liang got out of the bed, took a deep breath, and then looked at the world outside the window sill. The densely packed concrete jungle didn't care about the joys and sorrows of a certain boy, but just stood there quietly, as if no one could disturb the tranquility of the city. What could be better than this? Looking at the bright and dazzling light under the setting sun, Liang sat on the chair and sighed. In that school, he had no friends at all, and there was no room for being slapped in the face by pretending to be cool. Today was the last day of school, and there would be no contact with the so-called classmates. What's the point of pretending to be cool and slapped in the face when you have already run to Norska? What's there to contact? They couldn't even take Leon there for a meeting. The so-called kind, cute, helpful female classmates who would definitely appear and trigger the plot. Leon had never seen a shadow, and this ability to descend into another world, except for the initial need to be warned. The rest of the time is free to choose to leave and enter. As long as it doesn't cause this body to starve to death, it can basically be immersed in another world. So, is there any need for him to contact those so-called classmates? Not at all, not at all. Anyway, prepare the food first, and then do some serious work. After ordering high-energy food and vitamin drinks that can last for a month online, Leon registered his new identity as an inventor on the official website of the inventors and began to browse the information that is useful to him step by step. For 3 years, he has absorbed all kinds of knowledge like a sponge, just to wait for this day. The research on the other world is gradual, but the discoveries every day are extremely numerous. 3 years of preparation can only allow Leon to hastily lock on some areas and key points. According to the Knowledge Learning School, the Norska ice field can be said to be the worst area among all human starts, not even one. But at the same time, the Norska ice field is the least expensive one among all official areas because it is completely worthless. After all, it is not easy to explore the other world. If you want to circulate knowledge, you often need a certain amount of interest inducement. The verified information about the human civilization area, such as the news of the old world countries, Erathia, the Dwarf Mountains, Castano and other countries, are all sold online for hundreds to thousands of yuan. It is updated at any time, and has a full set of anti-counterfeiting and detailed certification marks to ensure the safety and interests of buyers. But in a place like the Norska ice field, which is a place in the middle of nowhere, many data are free and open to the public for humanitarian reasons. Because people born in this place are so miserable, they may not survive without helping each other. Among the data that Leon searched, the data related to the Norska ice field was gradually recorded in his mind. Compared with the outside world, the Norska ice field is the area that goes deepest into the Chaos Demon realm. The poles of this planet have long been tainted by magic and chaotic space, and the Norska ice field is, in a sense, an extension of this twisted scar. This is the most dangerous area in the world, full of demons and crazy looters, and there is no peace and civilization at all. There are countless twisted magic creations on the huge ice field, and even some irrational fortresses can be seen deep in the ice field. Those organ-like buildings are proof that the dark gods manipulate the wind of magic. No one knows how vast the Norskan ice field is, and no one knows what exists in the chaos wasteland behind it. It can only be roughly recorded that in the depths of the chaos wasteland, There is a twisted tree that seems to cover the sky, and there are many huge cursed wonders. They were once famous in history, but eventually fell silent in the chaos wasteland. Okay, anyway, let the Norse cans develop first, and then go to the chaos wasteland to find some wonders. The effect of a planet-level wonder is so powerful, so won't more be earth-shattering. At that time, they won't be able to say anything. Looking at those fragmented eyewitness reports, Leon memorized some landmark locations, and then quickly found what he wanted to find on the website. Captain of the Emperor's Hammer Cruiser, New World Guild. Looking at the identity of the strongest player currently announced by the Advent faction that appeared in the search column, Leon looked at the contact information above, as well as the very confident guild banner, and fell into deep thought. Although I don't want to get involved with my classmates, I still need the relationship with players. These players all over the world always have all kinds of strange networks. When my city develops to a certain level, it will be impossible to rely on the Norse trade network at that time. It is the right choice to mark the players and use their trade network. In short, remember everything that is useful, and it won't be too late to adjust the route later. Looking at the various information disclosed on the official website and the guild's recruitment advertisements, Liang's eyes were immersed in the ocean of information until the knock on the door of the delivery woke him up. Chapter 12. Long-term planning. If we want to comment on an area in the other world that is unfriendly to civilization, then there is no doubt that the old world is the most unfriendly area, compared with other super-large areas, such as Erathia, or Middle-earth, Tamriel, Eastern Kingdoms and other areas. The people in the old world can be said to be full of hostility and xenophobia. All fleets from the outside world are unconditionally attacked, and all kinds of missionaries and caravans that appear are strictly tested and blocked. Even in most cases, missionaries from other regions will be directly killed unconditionally, and will not even be sent back. It is not just humans, but other populations as well. Whether it is elves, dwarves, or even those undead and spirits, they are all like this. For various reasons, the populations in the old world are full of blood hatred and distrust for any foreign races. Various looting and killing each other can be said to be commonplace. And because it is located on the edge of the world, space and time are also very unstable, and there are often some nightmare monsters running out to do something big. The war gangs who believe in the end of the world always rush out from the North Pole or somewhere with a group of beastmen to burn, kill and plunder. The ratmen who are studying biochemistry and technology, the mysterious lizardmen who don't know what they are doing, the Norse cans who are elusive and burning and looting on the seashore, and even the figures of undead pirates in the deep sea. Heroes from all walks of life gathered together to celebrate the event. It is because of such a bloody and cruel humanistic environment that the old world has secured the top 3 or even the first combat power in large areas with the most backward technological level. It's just that because of the extremely serious internal friction of the races, the greatest pleasure of the major populations is to drag others down, and the blood feuds between each other are never soft, etc., which leads to the fact that the countries in the old world can't even open up to the outside world. And it is in this hot land where heroes from all walks of life are constantly cultivating. There will always be some unexpected gains for the players. In a series of information found by Liang, compared with other worlds with stable order, many players in the old world are developing faster and have a lot of gains and information, because it's really too chaotic here. In other places, you can't speak the language and you are still in jail or negotiating most of the time, but it's different in this hot land. Everyone communicated with each other with swords, and maybe there would be some unexpected gains, like various strange magic props, mysterious relics, some navigation landmarks and legends. Leon was very happy to record them. I wonder if I can find some props or magic that can maintain my body functions. Looking at the piles of food and beverage storage, Leon wiped the sweat from his head a little tiredly, and felt satisfied with the many locations he marked. He marked some landmark buildings and possible wonders near the North Pole. If there is no accident, Leon's next move should be to use the strong productivity and magic brought by the 2 wonders of Stonehenge and the test site to start exploring and colonizing the Chaos Wasteland. Among them, Ulfric is not the first choice for exploration. On the contrary, Leon has a more complete arrangement for Ulfric. Because of the control function of the magic stone circle, ordinary Norscans can do short-term exploration and clearing the demons of the Chaos Snowfield. According to the data from the investigation, in the manipulated magic area, the power of chaos is difficult to extend, and the power of the demons will be greatly weakened. There is no need to let Ulfric, a hero unit, lead the team. Leon wanted to let Ulfric take some slaves and Norscans to follow the route of astrological exploration and return to the Norscan tribe. Through duels and looting between tribal leaders, the coastal population will be quickly concentrated in the landing area to fill the gap in the urban population. More than 200 people are useless. It is okay to build a small urban gathering place, but it is obviously not enough to open up deeper areas. As for letting the female slaves among the slaves reproduce, it is nonsense. In addition to using magic, a universal point, to promote birth, Leon has no way to increase the population, and magic must be collected in the short term to fill the gap in the wonders of the test area, and it cannot be wasted in vain. So letting Ulfric go out and lead the team to snatch people back is a must. As for various cultures and conflicts, people's political rights and struggles, Leon thought about it briefly and felt that there should be no problem, because in the final analysis, the struggle for rights is the struggle for the right to distribute social property. Then the question is, how can Leon give up his rights? He is civilization itself. He is the ultimate individual of distribution. Each of them must contribute his own strength to the entire civilization according to Leon's ideas. All positions, scientific progress and magic are handled by Leon. Power, bureaucracy. Power is shit. I have opened the cheat. What can I let you play a fight for power? All of you inherit knowledge and create wonders. The honeycomb network from top to bottom is so powerful, and there is actually a concern about the gathering of the Norscans, that is, the clearing of the surrounding environment. Although the Holy Grail is very useful, the hidden effect is probably that the energetic productivity has increased by half. But the so-called chivalrous expedition is not a problem that can be ignored casually. After clearing out the surrounding Norscan villages that might become the enemy's recruiting grounds and food supply and gathering them in the land of descendants, the chivalrous expedition knights can only rely on their own fleets and servants to carry out a one-time attack. At worst, they can use the Stonehenge to turn all the ocean blocks and ice surfaces into vast snowfields, and they can count it if they can attack. Even if they attack, Leon can switch to productivity mode on the same day, letting the Norscans block the entrance to the land of descendants with weapons and fight with the opposite side. After roughly planning the next civilization development policy in his mind, Leon ate food to replenish physical energy and vitamins, and then lay on the bed and closed his eyes. He used his consciousness to contact the game system, and once again, it was like a moment. And it was like countless years. The world in front of him bent and tilted in the blink of an eye, and then turned into chaos. Leon opened his eyes again, and the world in front of him once again became the way he left. The only difference was that a familiar-looking person was hanging in the distance of Leon's sight. Ulfric, explain. He tried to spread the so-called grace of the Lady of the Lake in your name. Looking at the bearded man struggling in the air, Ulfric patted his head speechlessly. Chapter 13. Am I a god? If someone does not feel awe at Stonehenge, then he must not have any intelligence. Standing on the ice field and floating in the sky, the huge stone structure has such terrifying power. The wails of the 11 dead demons before their death created a huge and terrifying wound in the real world. The imprints full of symbolic meanings shone brightly on the stone. These demons locked in the stone will be tortured forever. The shining stone in the air will guide the demons' wails after being tortured into the cracks. The huge cracks will also feed back pure energy, baptizing everything around. The affected area will be filled with magical energy. This cruel and terrifying ritual field restores the situation of the first hunting of intelligent life. The most primitive energy and cracks ran rampant in the chaotic wasteland and were intercepted in this area of 200 kilometers. The huge energy, as an extension of Leon's consciousness, changed the nature of the magic snowfield. The excess magic almost shook the entire Stonehenge. It was almost possible to see the energy accumulated in the cracks of the chaotic space being directed to the tower of the test area where the landing place was located, creating a brilliant, star-like wonder in the sky. Standing under the Stonehenge, looking at the great building in front of him, Leon sighed at the building in front of him and patted the Norseman on the shoulder in appreciation. "You did a good job, very good. This is exactly what I need. Your wonder, Stonehenge, magic, has been built. Now you can freely manipulate all magic flows within a radius of 200 kilometers. Optional. All magic areas such as magic snowfields, magic ice surfaces, magic icebergs, etc., can be changed and rebuilt according to your own ideas in a short period of time. Each large-scale magic manipulation will take from 1 day to 1 month according to the needs of the manipulation. The effect will take effect immediately. Manipulating the wind direction of the distorted magic wind may bring unexpected results. Please pay attention. You have created a new wonder. Your civilization progress has increased. The progress of your civilization's wonders has accumulated to 100%. After the creation of civilization, this trait will become a part of your civilization. Your civilization construction currently lacks population, cognitive turning points, a second city or spreading areas. Please work hard. A wonder is the beginning of a great civilization. The shitty terrain of the magic snowfield will no longer limit the development of civilization. However, Leon stood here not just to see this wonder. He called everyone out. Under this shaking stone circle, Leon looked at the bound body but still held his head high and his eyes were burning with some wonder. After Leon left, this southerner did not explain everything according to his instructions. Instead, he exaggerated the process, saying that Leon was the sign of the goddess and called on everyone to believe in the goddess. So it happened that Leon looked at the southerner in front of him and touched his chin with some interest. "Because I lifted the seal of the Holy Grail and happened to call you, you think I am the incarnation of the goddess?" "Yes." The bearded southerner stood on the snowy field. Although he was tied up, he still held his head high and said with full energy, "Maybe you don't realize it yourself, but there is no doubt that the relationship between the goddess and you is beyond doubt. If it were not for the blessing of the goddess, you would not be able to get the Holy Grail. But he is here, no matter what the reason. Sooner or later I will master it, right?" "You are wrong. The Holy Grail has its own spirituality." Looking at Leon's subtle expression, the southerner shook his head with a stern expression. "The great Holy Grail will not be polluted by anyone. Even if the most terrible necromancer takes it away, there is no way to break the Holy Grail's imprisonment. Only the saint of the lake, or the incarnation of the goddess, can open the seal of the Holy Grail and unleash its power." "Oh, what power does it have?" "Because I was inspired to become a chivalrous knight. This is the best proof." Under the somewhat surprised eyes of the Norskans, the southerner easily broke the thumb-thick rope, walked in front of Leon, knelt on one knee on the snow, and bowed his head deeply. "I will dedicate my loyalty, sir. You are undoubtedly the incarnation of the goddess, the will of her walking, and I will follow you forever until the end of the world." How can you explain it like this? If I hadn't seen the messy and abominable options marked on it, I would have believed it. Looking at the pious man half kneeling on the ground, Leon played with the Holy Grail in his hand, which was filled with emerald green, and had some calculations in his heart. He could certainly go with the flow and say that he had the power of a goddess and completely conquer these people, but Leon felt that he had a better choice, because he could decide everything himself. "I don't care about your myths and gods, everyone, but I think I should be able to give you an explanation for why I can influence the Holy Grail." Looking at the man half kneeling in the snow, Leon sighed, threw the Holy Grail in his hand into the air, and let it float back to him. "Perhaps it is just because of my oath and the mark of my arrival in this world that I am considered a god above gods. I can manipulate the miracles of all your gods, because to me, they are all understandable traces. Your gods are too small for me. Just like the Stonehenge in front of you, you should understand that this miracle is the only wonder in the world. I can do this wonder in the chaotic wasteland and under the sight of the dark gods, but I can do even greater things. Maybe you don't believe it, but I really can. For example, you have been troubled by this snowfield for a long time, right? But I can change all this, like this." Looking at the confused eyes of many Norscans and Southerners, Leon stood under the Stonehenge, smiled and snapped his fingers. In an instant, the cold wind whistling on the chaotic snowfield stopped. The falling snowflakes gradually turned into fine and soft drizzle, and the snowfield on the ground instantly lost the terrifying and dead cold, dissolving and seeping into the ground like an avalanche. Under the almost horrified gaze of everyone, under the roar of magic emitted by the Stonehenge, the snow-white color in everyone's sight quietly retreated, and the scenery suppressed by the magic snowfield for countless years, the most primitive appearance of this world appeared in front of everyone. The storm blowing from the violent and terrifying chaotic wasteland was blocked by the ritual of the Stonehenge. The huge magic ice field turned into fertile soil and mountains. There was even a hint of verdant. Those plants that had been buried for who knows how many years actually bloomed new seedlings under the control of the magic wind, and showed their bodies vigorously in the dense and moist rain. In this terrible scene of silently changing the world, Liang looked at the people in front of him, smiled and opened his hands. The huge magic energy even rushed to the sky in an instant along his will, dispelling the eternal coldness. The sacred light shone on the boy, setting off his figure incomparably majestic. "I don't care what your beliefs are, but you can only respect me and no other gods," he said. "Maybe your beliefs are gods, but I am not. I am not a god, but I am far greater than them." The huge magic ceremony slowly stopped, and the huge flow of magic even left an indelible mark on Leon's body. The spiral shining with starlight was imprinted in Leon's pupils, and looking at the spiral eyes full of bright starlight, everyone bowed their heads in awe, knelt on their knees to this thin man, and instinctively expressed their loyalty. "Your will, sir," the sparse voices sounded along with the drizzle, making Leon smile with satisfaction. Chapter 14 Scientific and Technological Progress and Cultural Progress. Because of a powerful magic ritual infusion, your body has changed. Under the impact of the magic torrent, your body has grown and transformed, and you have gained some special abilities. You have gained personal characteristics: arcane body, ritual eye, intimidation will. Arcane body, an unimaginable magic torrent has washed through your body. Even if it is just a wash, it still makes your body a strong body that adapts to all magic winds. Constitution +3, you can master all magic winds at the same time. Ritual eye, you once presided over a huge spell that affected the entire world. The power and results of this spell are extremely terrifying, and even left a deep mark in your eyes. Anyone who looks at you will see a corner of the terrifying ritual. Deterrence +20, intimidation will. You use your own will to make the world bow down, whether it is people or magic. So in communication, even if you don't have this idea, your will is full of majesty. Charm +10, in communication world record. Because of the Stonehenge, you held a rare magic ceremony, turning the chaotic magic wasteland of 100 miles into a land full of elements that can be lived and lived. This is a world-class change. World feedback. Because of the unfamiliarity and weirdness of your operation, all the intelligent races in the world believe that this is a natural phenomenon, not someone secretly inducing it. You did not receive any legendary blessing. Bullshit. I'm going back to basics. What's strange and weird? Looking at the message on his system, Leon cursed indignantly, and then looked at the man in front of him who was a little confused and shouted, "Hey, Oliver, what do you think of my magic? I have done such a great cause. I have given the world hope and dreams. No one can do this kind of operation. How can some people think it is a natural phenomenon? That must be because everyone thinks that no intelligent creature can guide such a terrible celestial phenomenon. What nonsense. I am not a human. Apart from my special place, I am also an ordinary person." Oliver, a former monastery knight, now a kingdom knight who was shocked by the Holy Grail, opened his mouth in front of the man whose eyes were literally glowing. He wanted to say, "Why don't you look in the mirror and see where you look like a human being?" But as a qualified kingdom knight, he wisely closed his mouth. Let the master of his greatness, whose eyes are not only glowing, but also glowing in his body, Speak nonsense. The power of the wonder is terrifying. After guiding the huge ritual, Leon also ushered in his own changes, the changes brought by the arcane body and the ritual ire that his skin began to become a little pale, and his eyes began to emit some brilliant white light. Any intelligent life cannot be unchanged when guiding such a huge ritual. So for Leon's existence, Oliver really felt the huge and infinite power. But he was also puzzled. The main puzzlement was not that Leon was magnanimous and spared him, but that the order and identity given to him by Leon after he spared him were really a bit confusing. "My lord, may I ask why I am the director of culture, and Mr. Ulfric is the director of scientific research?" "Because there is no one." Looking at the scene outside the window where the stone circle absorbed the huge amount of magic in the chaos wasteland and continuously poured it back into the ancient saint's test site, Leon looked at the knight in front of him calmly and gave the answer, "Because there is really no one who can be used, my knight. Among the more than 200 people who have landed now, you have the highest cultural attainments. Because you used to be in charge of etiquette and missionary work in a monastery. The best of the rest is just a female leader of the choir, and because of your church, you don't know anything." "I am ashamed, my lord, but in this case, Mr. Ulfric should not be made the head of scientific research. I believe I can do it better." "You are not qualified. I took a look and found that you are not as intelligent as Ulfric. It is more reliable to let him do scientific research." Leon sighed with a sad face, waved to Oliver, and threw the Holy Grail in his hand, which exuded a green aura, to him. "Take the Holy Grail, use this thing to conceive more special cultural parts for this city. I believe you can still do it with your ability, but I really don't know if Ulfric can come up with a wheel." "Let a Norse-can barbarian do scientific research or something. Is it really a dream?" Oliver left with a confused look on his face, with a head full of questions. Liang was also sitting in a chair, staring at the slowly growing scientific research and cultural progress. Liang had a beautiful idea for the two aspects of science and culture at first. "Isn't it just scientific research points and cultural points? Just add them. With the invincible cosmic wonders, what can't be added?" "In a few days, the first step of the wonders will be unlocked, and everything will be fine if the values are stacked hard." Then he found that he was wrong. Or rather, he was wrong in a small part. Scientific and cultural progress can certainly be rapid, but people are not systems. People themselves have time to learn and transform. For existing knowledge and related props, it is very simple to reinvent the required scientific research points and cultural points. But for those things that are unknown, it is extremely difficult to invent them. For example, it is a very difficult thing to compile the entertainment projects of the Norsemen from scratch on the grounds of the Norsemen's exclusive entertainment projects, and not involve the Southerners. To be honest, it is a very difficult thing. To put it in human terms, there is a punishment mechanism. If there are normal literary masters and scientific research supervisors, there must be no problem with the help of the planetary wonders. But here comes the second problem. Among all of Leon's teams, the one with the highest scientific research index is Ulfric. Yes, that barbarian, the barbarian who can only chop with a knife. Ulfric is now his scientific research director. God knows how desperate Ulfric's expression was when he looked at the paper full of words and the heavy responsibility of scientific research director, but Leon was more desperate than him. But the good thing is that if the value is not enough, the points can make up for it. With the bonus of wonders, although he is a standard illiterate, Ulfric and Oliver should theoretically be nourished with knowledge within half a week and become standard scientific research directors and cultural directors. In theory, tomorrow, in the direction of scientific research and culture, they will be able to take the first step of writing and gradually move towards the fast lane. But things like civilization are never theoretically happy. Sitting in the central room, Leon squinted his eyes and looked at the group of strange creatures coming from the depths of the chaotic wasteland, and squinted his eyes with some disgust. "Demon, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15. Devil Explodes Gold. Emotionally, any intelligent creature would hate demons. Yes, that's right. These strange monsters are not intelligent creatures. Their language and actions are always narrated to lead the world to destruction. Unspeakable power supports their ancient and twisted figures. The magic wind from the chaotic wasteland has become their blood and bones, allowing them to walk on the earth with that blasphemous posture. Even from Leon's bird's eye view, he can see the twisted and hateful emotions shown by the chaotic demon army. Even in the process of advancing, this demon army is still fighting each other, attacking the landing place guided by the stone circle with the breath of destruction and corruption. These dozens of monsters did not deliberately show their own words. They should be purely inspired by the huge magic ritual. This is probably the inevitable consequence of the wonder of Stonehenge in this world. Kill them all. Leon looked at the chaotic demon army and instinctively manipulated magic to make a psychic call to his scientific research director. But soon, his system gave a prompt. Warning: an army of chaos demons is attacking your city. They think this huge ritual is a natural phenomenon, so they decide to attack any living creatures that may be attracted. This army has no leader, confused thinking, no policy or goal, and relies entirely on bloodlust and instinct for living things to move forward. It is effortless for your army. Tip: the body of the demon only has magic and vocation, so please pay more attention to it and make use of it. There may be unexpected surprises in the attainment of magic. Tip 2: killing some demons will extract their concepts from the Stonehenge, and you have a certain probability of getting clues to hidden technology. These are technologies that will never appear in the normal route. Tip 3: you can use the laboratory or a library to try to study any living creature and individuals similar to living creatures. Every time your servants get a part of knowledge, there is a probability that a certain value will be added to the national spirit. When all indexes are filled, after the exploration of technology and magic, your national spirit will add Ethereal Killer. Ethereal Killer can cause damage to any non-physical life and phenomenon. But then again, from a civilized perspective, Leon would not use his personal feelings to think about the problem. If it was from a personal likes and dislikes, Leon would choose to kill those demons without hesitation. But now there are other options. There is no need to be so cruel, right? Looking at the demon's route, the Old One had a plan in mind, and directly made a psychic call to Ulfric. Ulfric, there are a group of demons nearby. You go and tie them up and send them to me. Ulfric, who was staring at the creation of the old saints in the days, feeling the knowledge being stuffed into his head in a despicable way, was startled when he heard the voice, subconsciously grabbed the weapon and looked around instinctively. Lying in the observatory, Leon once again patted his shoulder with psychic power, and expressed his identity with his psychic manipulation ability. It's me, your master. I have learned some preliminary applications of psychic power, my lord. I'll be there right away. Hearing the familiar voice, Ulfric's face changed, and then he rushed out with his iron sword in great joy. While greeting the Norsemen who were bored and listening to Oliver's stories, he enthusiastically offered some suggestions to his master. Don't you need to kill them, my lord? You may not know that it is impossible to torture demons. These monsters have no natural sense of pain. Only damage to the soul and concepts is particularly effective for them. I have an idea to test them, but you can also try to chop a few. Let me see. In fact, it is also very easy for me to kill them all, my lord. If you can quickly learn concepts such as logical relationships and rational cognition, I don't have to think about doing anything to the demons. If you don't understand the compass and the stars, when you go to recover those Norse tribes, you won't even be able to mark our cities. You can kill them all, but I hope you can take the lead in scientific research. I'll bring you the captives now. Ulfric said nothing and waved to the Norsecans. A group of Norsecans who had been impatient for a long time stretched their bodies and laughed as they walked out to the black land with cold light and some ice and snow. Although the Stonehenge dispelled and absorbed all the violent magic in the entire area, Many things are not completely supernatural in nature. It is natural to have some ice and cold in such an area. For the Norsemen, this temperature is cool and pleasant, and it is the best day for them to act. Although they got the food they dreamed of and obtained unimaginable rich rewards, the Norsemen always maintained a strange sense of tension about everything around them. It was all like a dream, and they got it too easily. In front of Leon, everything was as beautiful as a dream. They needed some cold, some chill, or some blood to remind themselves that they were still alive. Oliver, if you want to work in other identities, you can also try to do something. For example, lead your servants to charge against the demons. Sir, although I was inspired to become a knight of the kingdom, I also know very well that when facing the Norsemen who swore to prove themselves, it is best not to do anything else. In response to Leon's inquiry, Oliver humbly bowed in the open space to express his respect. Although the man had no idea when Leon had this ability, he quickly understood the current situation and respectfully expressed his obedience. Seeing that his attempts to fan the flames failed, Leon sighed with some regret, and continued to look down at the strange demon army, and began to conceive in his mind. As we all know, demons are monsters that need to absorb the elements and magic around them to exist. If a wonder like Stonehenge is thrown in, every intellectual individual will unconditionally provide a little magic. In the civilization system, even if they are in a state of slavery, as long as the subordinate-slave relationship is confirmed, they can be used as employees and workers. So the question is, if the enslaved demons are thrown into Stonehenge, will the meter be reversed? Even if the meter cannot be reversed, at least give something good, right? Looking at the Norsemen who rushed out howling under the leadership of Ulfric, Leon raised his eyebrows with some expectations in his heart. Chapter 16 A New Wonder. In fact, if there is military talent, combined with the psychic phone, the combat power of the civilization system will soar qualitatively, because in the exploration area, Leon's vision is all-encompassing, like a god's perspective. Not only a god's perspective, he can also see the minerals and relics hidden under the soil that is unknown how many kilometers thick. But it is a pity that Leon himself thinks he has no military talent, and he can't make a psychic phone call to advance the position by 5 meters. All he can do is simply tell Ulfric the intelligence after opening the map, and then wait for Ulfric to give him good news. In fact, Ulfric did not disappoint Leon's expectations. On the route of these chaos demons, these Norscans ambushed halfway up the mountain, and then took advantage of the demons climbing the slope to attack from the mountain unexpectedly. A simple charge instantly broke up these scattered demon forces. As the general, Ulfric threw his hand axe and short spear like a god descending from heaven. He instantly hurled out his hand axe and short spear, splitting the skulls of 2 demons in the blink of an eye, and then jumped up and chopped off the head of the tallest demon with a sword. The entire demon army was defeated by Ulfric without even saying a coherent word. The remaining demons had their legs broken, and were tied and dragged on the ground, heading towards Stonehenge. They would be sent to Stonehenge to test whether they could be used as units for magic irrigation. Those demons that seemed too tough during the charge were killed in subsequent battles and finishing blows. After the last demon pretending to be dead had his limbs chopped off and his heart pierced, the voice of the system reached Leon's mind again. Glorious victory. A beautiful ambush. You ambushed 64 demons with 70 Norscans, and successfully won the victory at the cost of 14 minor injuries, 2 serious injuries, and 1 death. You got clues about abnormal technology. Magical abnormal technology. Emotion is void has been added to the magic technology tree. This sounds a bit cool. Why would the demons reveal this kind of technology? Could it be that the demons are actually my lucky stars? While Ulfric was dragging those demons to the Stonehenge, Leon sat in the observatory, looking at the technology with a red danger warning and fell into deep thought. Emotion is void, an extremely dangerous magic technology. A red high-risk technology route independent of all research. The description is also extremely terrifying. When emotions themselves have changed, when thinking is no longer fixed, perhaps we can realize the truth of the universe. A line of bloody high-risk words reminded him of the danger. But for Leon, Although the reminder of dangerous technology is dangerous, the value given by this technology is more dangerous. This technology has subsequent branches. After research, all populations under your territory will provide 0.01 magic points per round. After research, all the action values of all the people under your territory will increase by 20%. After research, all the people under your territory will have a chance to have psychic characteristics. Warning. Someone is watching you. Research dangerous technology, 200 magic points are required, no researchers are needed. No need for a research supervisor, only 200 magic points. Where can such a good thing be found? If there is a need for a research supervisor, to be honest, Leon might just let it go. After all, to be honest, it is difficult for Ulfric to have multiple positions, but there are many things that he must do. But this does not require a research supervisor at all, and it is said to be dangerous technology. For a person with a system, doesn't danger mean opportunity? Without hesitation, Leon opened the magic technology of emotion is void, and guided the energy of Stonehenge to himself. The huge torrent of magic once again washed over the boy's body, guiding the power in the void. At the same time, the captives brought by Ulfric had also arrived at the edge of Stonehenge. These demons had been cursing everything around them with foul language, but now when they saw the huge crack across the sky and the huge psychic storm, they actually cursed in fear. No, no, this is eternal destruction. What are you doing? The gods will never sit idly by. You are finished. Tell me what you are going to do. Oh my God, it's the void. The demon's disordered words seemed to contain some truth, but neither Leon nor the others cared about it. The symbols of these demon captives were dragged in the direction of Stonehenge in their hearts. Amid the screams of all the demons, the dragged demons were like being grabbed by invisible giant hands, howling and dragged into the vortex of Stonehenge. Then in the blink of an eye, they were crushed into countless fragments by the Stonehenge floating in the sky, dissolved and mixed in the torrent of magic, and dissipated in an instant. Before the other demons had time to feel sad about their fate, almost all the demon bodies were shattered in an instant. The moment the concept of slavery and captivity occurred, the final fate of these demons was doomed. It was nothing more than choosing how to die. You sacrificed the demon army and are about to gain 216 points of magic power. You have gained some fragments of magic knowledge. I feel a little dizzy after eating so much at once. Shaking his head, Leon reconnected the torrent of Stonehenge to the test area, and fell back into the chair to feel the new knowledge flowing in his mind. It seems that his judgment is correct. Demons can indeed become the nourishment of Stonehenge, but it is not a long-lasting stream as imagined, but a one-time torch filled in. Although it is not possible to get a little magic power every day, it is okay to study dangerous technology in one go. Leon has no special opinion on this. As the last trace of the demon's scream was integrated into the imprint of Stonehenge, the beautiful voice of the system came to Leon's ears again. The technology is complete. You have gained inspiration for the wonders. After completing the abnormal technology, emotion is the void, you can choose one of the following 4 giant wonders to build. The labyrinth of all things, the garden of life, the hall of joy, the fortress of honor. Hint: perhaps you can use your own way to build other wonders that conflict with each other, as long as you can accept the price. Hint 2: the world of magic is complex and mysterious, and any action may have far-reaching consequences. Each of your choices may bring a different ending, so please pay attention. Chapter 17: The Labyrinth of Everything, the Path of Wisdom. 4 paths, 4 blessings. Choose a path to build wonders, and you will be blessed by the wind of magic. Please note that every choice will have its own price. Emotions are empty, and this technology without a scientific research supervisor represents pure magic power. This power is based on emotions and the supremacy of the soul, allowing Leon to quickly build a basic concept of magic and emotions in his mind. In the transcendent indoctrination of consciousness, Leon knew that magic itself is an objective phenomenon. This active energy will be conquered and distorted by a strong will, and transformed into the concepts you need to act. But many people do not understand this and feel repulsive to their own emotions. Mainstream magicians suppress their emotions, use reason and logic to separate the concept of magic, and use their own and civilization's logic to suppress the abnormal magic, making it understandable. But dangerous technology means that Leon knows the most essential secrets of magic. They are nothing, and can even be conquered by a person's will. And now, there are 4 different colors of light flashing in Leon's consciousness, tempting him to make his own choice. First, there is a green symbol full of life, garden of life, natural path, planetary wonder. Unique building. Life and death are natural cycles, but the path of life can interfere with and distort this cycle, creating incredible life in this dead area with one's own will. Isn't this a wonder? Features. All residents of the faction gain the feature, unnatural vitality. Specifically, the regeneration speed of all life in the faction increases by 100 times. The research speed of all biological technology increases by 75%. And special research on the path of life is opened. Warning, your civilization will no longer be afraid of death, but their attitude will inevitably be distorted. Then there is a purple symbol full of literary and artistic atmosphere. Hall of Joy, Path of Pleasure, Planetary Wonder. Unique building. Cheer, jump for joy. In this ocean of beauty and pleasure, whether it is love or hate, or joy and sorrow, they all reach the ultimate paradise in this literary and artistic hall. Features. All residents of the faction gain the feature, extraordinary pleasure. Specifically, all populations in the faction increase 0.1 culture. The residents' mood always remains in jubilation. All values increase by 15%, and all cultural research speed increases by 25%. Open the special research of the path of joy. Warning, extreme joy leads to sorrow, and the pursuit of art is often a path of self-destruction. Then, there is a red character full of honor. Honor Fortress, Warpath, Planet Wonder. Unique building. The essence of the world lies in competition and honor. Only when honor covers the body can people be called human. People will not fear war and death. Only skulls are the best result. Characteristics. All residents of the faction obtain the characteristic People of War. Specifically, the combat effectiveness of all combat units of the faction increases by 25%, and the war weariness returns to 0. The morale of all armies is to fight to the death. All military research and technology research speeds up by 50%. Open the special research of the path of war. Warning, those who indulge in blood will also die in war. Finally, it is sky blue, like the light of wisdom, the labyrinth of all things. The path of wisdom, the wonder of the planet, the only building. Only when facing oneself can one feel one's own ignorance and insignificance. This world has countless mysteries, and we should immerse ourselves in the ocean of knowledge to experience the supreme happiness. Features. All residents of the faction obtain the feature, Supreme Wisdom. Specifically, all populations of the faction obtain Research 0.1. And research no longer has a rigid requirement for the value of the scientific research supervisor. There is a probability of discovering dangerous technology and unknowable technology. Open the special research of the path of wisdom. The initial requirements for all wonder buildings are 20,000 magic points. Choose the token you get. They are all good things, but you can only choose one at present. But do you still need to choose this? Leon felt the 4 magic powers and chose the sky blue symbol without hesitation. At the moment of making the choice, Leon felt that something different was born from the magic he controlled. The voice was whispering, the voice was telling Leon that as long as he surrendered to this supreme wisdom, he would be able to obtain all the mysteries of this world. This vision was so real and beautiful, and Leon could also feel the truth of what was being said. Within the blue light of wisdom, all the mysteries of this world were in the maze. As long as he established it, as long as he believed in it, as long as he sacrificed, he would be able to obtain all the wisdom of this world. But believe, sacrifice, who are you? Just a planet. Leon's palm passed through the curtain, grasped the core of wisdom without hesitation, and then looked at the incarnation of seemingly endless wisdom and questioned, the secrets of this planet are for my use. Should I say that the secrets of all parallel universes should be for my use? You can only use the secrets of the planet as a bargaining chip, or is it that the intelligent aggregate of this world can only see these things? If so, it's too sad. I want to see more things, and this world can't stop me. The things you promised are too small for me. At least the first step is that I plan to reshape this planet. I am doing it, and I can do it too, and you are just an extension of my power and wisdom. I will act for my civilization, not for the sake of paying homage to anyone. Taking off the azure core in the magic storm, Leon put it in his collection without hesitation. The blue light continued to deform and twist under Leon's supernatural ability, and finally formed a book that looked exquisite and gorgeous, floating in front of Leon in the form of a prop. And the next moment, the voice of the system sounded in Leon's ears. The wise god cast his sights on you. It appreciates your choice very much, so it decided to give you a variable. An accident happened. Your Holy Grail aura cannot be sealed. The navigators of the chivalrous knights have already locked the Holy Grail. The knights who will lead your chivalrous expedition are the Raccoon Knights and the Falcon Knights. Please make relevant preparations. God of Wisdom, you did a good job. It just so happens that we are short of manpower for the development. Isn't it better to send people here directly than to fish for a tribe of dozens of people along the coastline? Looking at the huge and towering magic mark that rose up in the city in an instant, Leon laughed in his heart and praised the so-called God of Wisdom. Chapter 18 Chivalrous Expedition. The ocean is gradually turning blue, and the world is changing. Dozens of ships, adorned with countless wreaths and blessing ribbons, are sailing on an ocean that is fundamentally different from the legend. In the legend of the Knight's Kingdom, this sea near the North Pole should be full of sinister magic and strong winds and huge waves. The magical wind of the chaotic wasteland blows all material structures into chaos and collapse, and countless unnatural phenomena occur one after another. If it is according to the records, the chivalrous expedition team should be facing a roaring wave of more than 10 meters high, and countless lightning and thunder and evil beasts in the ocean form a tight defense line. If you want to pass through this supernatural barrier, you can only take steps through the Norse strongholds along the way. Using the blood and supplies of the Norsemen to continue their great chivalrous expedition has long been a rule. If the Norsemen rob them, they can naturally rob them back. But now, Sir Joshua looked at the blue sea and thought of his navigator's horrified description yesterday. A giant tore the sky of the chaos wasteland. I can see that the goddess's token is in the giant's hand. He tore the earth and the sky, and destroyed all magic. That is an unknown monster born from the world of nothingness. He wants to destroy us all. I can see this future. The goddess's holy object will be defiled. It will be insulted. Although Sir Joshua was furious that he dared to insult the goddess's holy object halfway through, he was directly beheaded by him. But now it seems that the navigator is not wrong. What is needed in the chaos area is a special navigator who has a keen sense of the wind of magic, and the message sent by the navigator is often a special sign. This sign is likely to be some kind of hint, but the navigator himself cannot distinguish it. Just like now, everyone can feel the agitation brought by the Holy Grail in their hearts, just like in their blood. The concept and words of the giant are just a metaphor. Maybe the Holy Grail is in the hands of the Norsecans, but because of the sacredness of the Holy Grail itself, it has triggered the breath that makes them chase after it. After all, even the huge evil demon like the necromancer Sandro, who almost destroyed the world, failed to successfully destroy the Holy Grail. He just added some seals and worshipped it. No one would believe what the Norsecans did. If the Norsecans hadn't gone too far, there wouldn't even be 2 chivalrous expedition fleets. After all, it wasn't the first time they had dealt with Norska. If they really couldn't survive, the chivalrous knights wouldn't have gone too far. They often just cut off the weapon-holding palms of adult men, and then gave women and children food and gold in exchange for the holy objects. This has been the case for hundreds of years. It's just that the goddess's holy grail is too precious, and the seal seems to be lifted, so they were summoned by the goddess in their dreams and came. And soon, the emerald green light column proved that their judgment was correct. The goddess was indeed calling them. It was obvious that the Holy Grail had been unsealed, and it had infinite power to appeal to the knights of the kingdom. Sir, Our fleet has not suffered much loss so far, and those serfs are trying to go home. I'm afraid their faith in the goddess is not enough to last until we arrive at our destination. Speak human language. There was a rebellion in the lower cabin, sir. The knight, wearing a large and flashy armor, walked into the captain's room and whispered. They resisted going too far away from home, and claimed that they were deceived. We thought the journey would only take a day or two, but we have been tracking the Norsemen for more than 2 weeks, so the lower-level serfs rebelled. I asked you to put it simply. Such a small matter can be summarized directly. Wiping the well-preserved medal for the 7th place in the night competition in the captain's room, Sir Joshua looked at his servant impatiently. I didn't bring you with me to let you learn to be petty like those serfs. Those serfs are just a group of short-lived slaves. It is our duty and mission to protect them, but it does not mean that we have to understand their actions. Just tell us the results. We killed 14 serfs after dealing with the rebellion, and locked some disobedient serfs at the bottom of the cabin. Will this be a problem? No. Sir Joshua put on his medal, picked up the wreath and ribbon and hung them on his body, and said earnestly, those slaves are just mindless animals who need our guidance. As long as the leader is killed, the remaining serfs will naturally be honest. Don't have too much mercy. We are knights, fighting for glory. These serfs are necessary property. Since they claim to follow the footsteps of the goddess, they must be brought into the field. But if their faith is not firm, they can be killed and discarded. Would you spend some currency that was once stained with feces? We are knights, not merchants. Remember this. I know, uncle. Call me sir. Now go out and announce that we are about to land. Find a messenger to inform that we will soon be able to kill those Norscans and return home with our things. Yes, sir. The young man dressed in colorful clothes nodded and walked out quickly with his head down. For the goddess's holy relics, we will launch a chivalrous expedition against those bandits in the Arctic. Well, let's put it this way. After coughing twice in the captain's room and practicing his throat, Joshua waited for a moment and then walked out of the captain's room. As expected, countless knights were looking at this leader. Fellow countrymen, partners, we have now reached the end of the world. We will launch a chivalrous expedition against those despicable Norscans. We will destroy their homes and take away the honor we deserve. We must. Just as Joshua was speaking passionately, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. For some reason, everyone's eyes were no longer looking at him, but looking past his body and looking behind him. There was unspeakable fear and panic in that look, as if seeing the embodiment of some nightmare. Subconsciously, Sir Joshua turned around and looked back. Then he saw it. He saw the team standing on the edge of the coast, those Norscans, some ordinary abducted slaves who were once residents of the kingdom, and a pair of eyes that seemed to collapse the sky. The spiral eyes were shining with a shining light, and everything engraved in that look almost destroyed their will. Welcome, my newest compatriots. The voice could not be heard, but the clear feeling of the voice rang in everyone's mind. My new residents, welcome to the landing place. Chapter 19. Love, only love. Joshua was not a coward. He had participated in the Knights tournament and slaughtered countless orcs in the Green Tide, taking their skulls as trophies and creating his own Knights Order. In his hometown, he was also a legend. From the unpopular second sons of a country knight to the respected knight of the Knights Order, he considered himself a successful person. Even in the Green Tide, he had witnessed the spectacular scene of the kingdom's knights roaring and charging at those abominable orc colossi and witchcraft creations. He even helped the Knights Order Lord cut off the spine of the orc servant when he was fighting against the orc leader. Joshua once thought that he had seen the greatest and most spectacular scene in the old world. How could there be anything more magnificent than the great scene of the Knights Order with colorful flags flying and winning the victory after colliding head-on with the Green Tide? Until now, he saw the eyes that were far beyond human cognition and imagination. Those eyes were no longer ordinary things, but witnesses of a ritual. Even if this person is dead, his eyes cannot decay, because those eyes have recorded a great moment, a will, an idea, a moment of tearing the sky and the earth apart with a ritual. And the moment he looked at those eyes, Joshua felt as if he was in a nightmare. He saw a figure instinctively manipulate the magic comparable to the continent, instantly tearing the world's magic wind apart. and then bombarding it into a manipulable torrent. The spreading gentle wind path is the source of the strange noises in the ocean and sky now, an unimaginable great wonder, a great building of brutal manipulation of magic created with the initial killing and the most fundamental primitive will, and the founder of that building, the terrifying man who tore the sky and the earth apart, was standing on the shore, smiling and opening his hands to them. "Thank you for coming all the way here, everyone in the chivalrous expeditionary force." The voice could not be transmitted so far, so it must not be the will of the voice that echoed in everyone's mind. "I have any luxury you want here, including the honor you desire, the holy objects you hope for, and everything you want." And all of this only requires a trivial promise. No, it should be an oath to each other. "I swear that I will not hurt you, I swear on everything, I will not distort the oath and the testimony, and I will always tolerate you. But on the contrary, I hope you can come down now, come to my side, and witness the world I have prepared for you. Just put down your weapons, just follow the steps of your heart, just witness everything I have built for you, and you will naturally understand why I do this and why I do this." The voice rose in the corner of everyone's mind, and even the knights were at a loss, looking at the existence on the coast in shock. They had witnessed the war of wizards, and had seen great things, and some had even witnessed unimaginable battlefields. But all this in front of them was beyond their imagination. Is this a persuasion to surrender? Why, how did he know the goal of the chivalrous expedition? How did he determine his position? The fleet had been silent for a long time, and the faith in the goddess had always protected their ships. The chivalrous expedition was to judge and kill heretics. But why did that man do this? What was even more terrifying was that all the chivalrous knights were horrified to find that they could actually feel the sincerity of the voice, and even greatly shook themselves. All the knights looked at each other, and even felt that the oath in the dark did not seem to be any deception. His words, although seemingly a fantasy, seemed to be true. "You still have doubts. You are wondering why I do this, but in fact the answer is very simple." The voice, which could not be distinguished as male or female, just rumbled in everyone's mind with infinite will and firm thoughts, as if to completely dare their will to resist. "Because I love you." The thunderous voice conveyed unimaginable tenderness. "This is not a distorted love. I will not distort your mind, nor will I let you lose the concept of self. In my arms, you will always enjoy peace and tranquility. When you encounter difficulties, pain, and suffering, you can think of me and call me, and I will definitely solve all these troubles for you. All I ask of you is that you can obey my command. I need you to help each other and watch over each other in this troubled world. Apart from that, all you need is to love yourself, because we should be one, without any difference. Don't be bewitched." Joshua shouted loudly, covering his head. The ability from the chivalrous knight made his voice instantly transmitted to every corner of the ship. "He is definitely a wizard, a powerful wizard. We have seen such an enemy a long time ago." "Right." That fluent Cologne accent. "He is traitorous wizard. He stole our holy objects and lied to us." And, the most important point, in everyone's ears are different accents, but only the voice of majesty and faith that has not changed resounds in everyone's mind again. "If I am really that kind of unforgivable and treasonous person, I should be the object of punishment for your goddess. But why is your goddess's holy grail shining in my hand now? His light should have dissipated long ago, right?" Silence, unimaginable silence. All the knights were surprised to find the holy grail emitting aura in the hands of the strange man. In their original conception, some evil existence must have tried to taint the holy grail, twisting it into an abominable and sad appearance, igniting the righteous and sacred anger in everyone's heart. But now in this gentle and suitable sea breeze, in the eyes of all the knights, the Holy Grail not only did not look tainted, but instead emitted a stronger light and breath, caring for their enemies, those Norsecans, those captured Southerners. They even seemed to never feel tired, always energetic, and looked at them with high morale, just like in ancient myths and legends. Their ancestors faced the eternal enemy under the illumination of the Holy Grail, and that loving voice also sounded at the right time. "We are not enemies, On the contrary, we are family, aren't we? Apostrophe. Chapter 20 You are all mine. That's a heretic. No, he can only be a heretic. If he's not a heretic, then what is he? A pilgrim fleet? Pilgrims? He came here to expand the territory, to use the blood and death of the Norsemen to commemorate his reputation. The title he should have is the Welcomer of the Holy Grail, and the name he should have should be the one who makes the Holy Grail light up again, instead of watching the other side take out the Holy Grail and recruit them like now. It's an illusion. Sir Joshua wiped the cold sweat from his cheek, and his voice couldn't stop trembling. It's an illusion of witchcraft. Yes, everything is witchcraft, just like the grotesque illusion we just saw. It must be that wizard. He studied our Holy Grail, and then created an illusion to insult and deceive us. The voice became more and more fluent, and Joshua's thoughts stabilized as he kept talking. He was not a particularly pious person, for a knight who climbed up from the bottom of the knight class, actively welcoming it back now was also for his own reputation. A Holy Grail knight who welcomes back the Holy Grail, such an honor is much greater than that of an honorary knight of a knightly order. He can even create a city on his own and become the existence praised in the legend, instead of kneeling down to welcome the one who is truly blessed by the Holy Grail. Yes, there is still a chance, as long as he and the people of the Falcon Knights defeat all of the defenseless beach troops. Joshua is confident that he can convince others to let him become a Holy Grail Knight. Even the serfs can't say anything, because once they become Holy Grail Knights, they may be promoted to Knight Squires, or even Knights. What a great reward for those serfs. So it must be possible. There must be no problem. That was a wizard's trap. Those Norse Kansan traitors must have made something. Perhaps the props left over from ancient times have triggered some rules. Joshua's voice gradually became smoother. Looking at the knights under his command, he said in a somewhat shrill voice, "We pretend to be unaware. As long as we rush to the beach, we will take our war horses and wipe out all those scum and wizards, just like we did in the past. No one can stop us from welcoming the Holy Grail back and making our Raccoon Knights great again, Uncle. The Falcon Knights have already raised the flag of surrender. We are not at an advantage. What about them?" Looking at the other knight's flagship with a pure white iris flag hanging on the mast and the knights lined up on both sides of the deck holding the flag high, Joshua's eyes widened. According to Joshua's idea, he also planned to do so. After all, the other side has some captives, and it is not difficult to torture them to know some of the equipment and stories of the knight's chivalrous expedition. So he had to pretend to welcome the Holy Grail, but suddenly he was attacked by a fierce one. But now he was in a strange dilemma. If the Raccoon Knights thought the same, then they just happened to agree, and they were faster than him. In this case, even if he killed those barbarians, he would not be the only candidate for the Holy Grail Knight. And if they really surrendered, he would need a navigator to warn them, or at least make them stop their actions. As for the navigator who delivered the message, he went crazy a few days ago and was killed by Joshua himself. It seemed that there was no choice. After a moment of silence, Joshua slowly exhaled. We retreat. Uncle, that wizard deceived the Falcon Knights, and the Falcon Knights are no longer worthy of the title of the Holy Grail. And we don't have a navigator, so we can't be sure whether the Holy Grail in the wizard's hand is real or fake, so we retreat. Joshua said fluently, with a righteous expression on his face, as if he was shining brightly. We can't let the blood of the knights be wasted here in vain. We must go back and report the truth. Get ahead of the bewitched Falcon Knights. They chose to give up the Holy Grail, and we have the obligation to tell everyone the truth. This is our mission. Your will, Uncle. Although the knight's class is not absolute, it is also strictly classed. Although many knights were puzzled, they still chose to believe their lords, turned the ship around silently, and looked at the black land emitting brilliance with some reluctance. Although no one said anything, many people already knew in their hearts that the black land was the promised land. Everything that happened on this day, and Joshua's performance, have been remembered by some people. At the same time, when the flagship of the Raccoon Knights turned around and left, Oliver stood beside Leon and frowned at the ship. The Raccoon Knights didn't seem to choose to fight. They seemed to have escaped. Is that so? That's a pity. You have lost some compatriots, Leon said casually, pointing to the sky at the coast. Under the twist of his will, the magical wind made the surrendered ships approach the shore faster and faster, and the ships leaving were also sent to the departing breeze. Whether it was the departing or the surrendering ships, there was a small disturbance because of this spectacle, especially the ship of the Raccoon Knights who left. He could even manipulate the wind and waves of the ocean to make the ships more stable and faster. If they were really evil wizards, why didn't he stop them from leaving, but instead sent a blessing breeze on their ships? You are so kind, sir. You don't even want to attack such an attacker. Looking at the changes on the ocean, Oliver stood beside Leon and said sincerely. Leon, with a twinkling eye, put down his palm that manipulated magic and looked at the cultural director beside him. Then who do you think will make you happy? Sir, it's undoubtedly you. Then in this case, the meaning of me letting him go back is just to let him live in fear. I sent them away not because I am kind, but because I hope he will spread my story. Leon looked at the cheering ship approaching, his voice light but firm. He is my eyes, the extension of my voice. As long as he can spread my story far away, sooner or later someone will come again. Whether it's an attack or a surrender, they will become my people, and I will become us. This is a good thing. You are always so far-sighted. Oliver bowed his head respectfully, causing Leon to raise his eyebrows indifferently. Just go with the flow. Oh, the clay looks ready. Do you want to try making pottery? I personally think it's very interesting. Is it the work of those serfs? No, it's the work of our civilization. You and I are all part of this civilization, and the wisdom of this civilization is also our wisdom. Looking at the knights gradually approaching the shore, Leon walked over with a smile on his face, and said as he walked, "Come on, it's just right. All of us have to learn science and technology. After everyone gets used to life here, we can carry out our great wonders, and this is the first step in our development of the Chaos Wasteland." Chapter 21. Sir, isn't this wonder of yours a bit unorthodox? The Lord of the Falcon Knights is a very elegant man. After accepting Leon's invitation, he personally felt the power of the Holy Grail in front of all the knights and was sure that the Holy Grail was not contaminated. For those who still live in the era of faith, since it is not contaminated, it proves that the Holy Grail is actually open for their actions. In addition, Leon himself did not attack or brainwash them, but sincerely invited them to join the ranks of pioneering. The knights also put down their uneasiness. After all, being able to open up a country is also a great cause. As for Leon's statement that he is not a god or a servant of the goddess, in fact, all kinds of myths are relatively tolerant. If you say it is not, then it is not. Anyway, at the end of the myth, the one who denies the most is often the god. So the fierce conflict and revenge between each other and the conception do not actually exist. After all, from the perspective of faith, whether it is the Norskans who are now friendly forces, or the slaves who have been looted, they are essentially recruited by the goddess and called by the gods. When the reality that the Holy Grail was intact and provided help was in front of them, and the other party did not seem to be a bad person, they still calmly and rationally chose to show their loyalty and faith to Leon. It didn't even take a day or two for them to witness the results of their faith. It was a steel city that rose from the frozen earth. They all witnessed Leon manipulating the huge and unimaginable magic power to pull part of the huge steel creation out of the ground and then repair it. The structure, which was as big as a standard city, was flowing with indescribable energy. Even when the huge test area appeared, everyone's heart rose with an instinctive and nostalgic feeling. It was as if this was their home. Their home. No one dared to question any of Leon's actions and judgments. Your civilization has added a new civilization population, and the inherent Norscan racial characteristics have begun to fail. Your total population is less than 10,000, and the civilization unification process cannot be triggered. Please note that only the civilization you create yourself can carry out cultural improvement and repair. Building a culture for the Norsemen is part of your own culture. After your civilization is established, it will inherit some of the Norsemen's racial characteristics. Please pay attention. There are too few people, too few things, and the mixed civilization will reduce the value. We must continue to seduce some people. Sitting in the core terminal of the brand new Ancient Saint Research Institute, Leon floated in the air and casually said, "The population is still a little insufficient. When the time comes, let the Norsemen continue to recruit and win over along the coast. If the calculation is correct, the knights should arrive here continuously. Why don't you let us go back and explain it clearly?" "My lord, obviously you are the real saint," the Grand Master of the Falcon Knights standing by asked puzzledly, since confirming the sanctity of the Holy Grail and witnessing Leon directly repairing the wonder from the ground. The Knight Master has always regarded himself as a servant and looked at Leon in confusion. "I can lead my servants back to my hometown to accuse the coward who disobeyed fate. If you need a real name and supplies, we can also provide them. Is it because we are not pious enough?" "That is not necessary, Usra. This will slow down the progress." Leon waved his hand and interrupted the knight's speech. "When people face conflicting news, they choose a more conservative plan. Therefore, it will not bring soldiers and the population I need quickly. Even if you go back, you will only take a group of laborers, and then come back in a mixed state after a long time. Only when those people are together, they will completely release their malice and anger, and come to me with a whole army. We are a forward base. We have to go deep into the interior of the Chaos Wasteland, so active population and weapons are more important. And these two, simple pioneering behavior cannot get them." Manipulating magic, as if floating in a zero-gravity office, Leon finally patiently let these uneasy knights calm down. "And as long as they come before me, it will be like this. They will acknowledge my holiness and my greatness, because people cannot resist civilization itself. It's as simple as that." "I see. Well, since you have become familiar with the environment in the past few days, we should do things next. How to build wonders. You should have the technology in your heads." Leon floated in the air and casually put the knight in front of him into the ranks of wonder construction. But at that moment, the knight's face suddenly became a little strange. "Yes, sir." "Huh? Why do you look so awkward?" This wonder you are talking about seems to be a bit heretical." Feeling the twisted and unimaginable wonder construction method transmitted in his mind, the expression on the face of the head of the knights became more and more subtle. "The first phase of the restoration of the Ancient Saints experimental area has been completed. The experimental area has been opened. You can now use the various simulation facilities inside the experimental area to build your own direct troops. The gene repair area has been opened. You can now perform a certain degree of gene repair on the population by consuming magic power or equivalent energy and materials, and ensure that there will be no mutation." Prerequisite technology required: gene cognition. The engineering support area has been opened, and your current job universal points have increased to 6 points. The second phase of the repair task of the Ancient Saints experimental area has been opened because it involves the repair and completion of high-precision parts. The prerequisite technology is required: magic shaping, consciousness distortion, steel forging, and large-scale construction. Engineering requires 120,000 magic units, 4,000 steel, and repair building blueprints. Treasures. Tip: building blueprints are not real creations. Perhaps some demons can put together this wonderful psychic prop. You can also study this prop yourself through the path of wisdom or the path of war. Ah, I sent the wrong message, sorry. The steel city under your feet was repaired by me alone, and has nothing to do with you. What you are going to build is this." Lying in the air, Leon glanced at the location of his population, and apologized a little embarrassedly. Then he drew a light blue wonder construction target in the heads of the knights. "What you are going to build is the Labyrinth of Wisdom. This is what we are going to build. Isn't this even more heretical? Or does the goddess actually have supreme power and can do such a powerful thing?" Feeling the production method and effect of the universal labyrinth coming from his mind, the knight couldn't help but have some disrespectful thoughts in his heart. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, The Vientiane Labyrinth. Using the props of the ancient saints. The construction of the Vientiane Labyrinth is as simple as ever. It is hard to imagine what kind of technology the ancient saints used to forge this building complex that can modify the entire planet's topography. But for Leon now, he does not need to understand the theory, he just needs to use it. And it is gratifying that the creations of the ancient saints seem to follow the principles of simplicity and convenience, and are quite simple and convenient when building. As long as you think about it, and then do it. The building materials and related props will be automatically assembled and installed. After so long, Leon feels that he may never be able to do without this convenient construction method. However, there is still some distance to open up a new city. Looking at the blue maze gradually unfolding in front of him, Leon was very happy to manipulate the huge flow of magic power and began to personally infuse magic into this complex and unimaginable, as if it could only appear in dreams. It is fundamentally different from the Stonehenge that tore the difference between reality and illusion and tore a gap in the entire earth and sky. The Vientiane Labyrinth looks more like a gathering of some supernatural concepts. Those crystal clear lenses are the crystals of magic constructed in the void. Anyone who takes a look can see their infinite side and feel almost infinite life and wisdom. The building materials alone have such amazing effects. And the magic array they carved has even more amazing effects. Simply carving and shaping, everyone feels that their intelligence seems to be slowly improving. Those past jerky impressions, those unremembered things, those difficult problems, it seems that everything has an answer. All the construction workers instinctively feel that their wisdom and thinking seem to be improving with their actions, and they even instinctively want to show their wisdom. What's more, they even began to doubt in their hearts. According to their improved wisdom, they have found many unreasonable clues of Liang. This man is probably not the so-called saint recognized by the goddess. His identity is even more terrifying. However, since they have wisdom, other thoughts are naturally more in-depth. People did not become insidious, but more obedient, because as long as you look at the magic crystals falling from the sky and the figure waving his hands in the observatory to manipulate such a terrifying ritual, you will know that if you are not a religious lunatic, it is best not to bother him. Compared with the so-called wisdom of change brought by those crystal words when building this building, a monster like Liang who can directly make such a thing with a finger is still more terrifying. If you have thoughts, you must think more. So it is better to be honest. Especially when their amazing wisdom began to realize what the terrible ability to tear space and manipulate celestial phenomena means, they became more honest. Comparing the two, everyone still has a clear idea in their hearts. Everyone is still more in awe of the omnipotent boy in their hearts. The simplest and most effective thinking of intelligent life is to avoid danger and seek good fortune. They did get some indescribable fragments of wisdom in the construction of paintings, but can you compare with Liang who gave them a living enlightenment and made them understand the building itself? In this strange atmosphere, the construction of the entire Vientiane Labyrinth can be said to be proceeding rapidly. Currently, the total population of the territory is about 1,000 people. If everyone is doing magic recovery and operation work in the Stonehenge and the test area, combined with my ability guidance and the demons that come from time to time, there are about 2,000 magic points of income every day. As long as 10 days. As long as 10 days, the Vientiane Labyrinth can be built, entering the era of great technological development. And my city can also further explore the surrounding environment by building sentry towers and immigrants. And by that time, Ulfric will be able to liberate the edge of the coast to plunder the population. So the most important thing for humans is to create wonders. No matter what, it must be faster, faster. The current technology is really unbearable, it must be faster. In the observatory, Leon corrected the direction of the magic, looking at the three-dimensional maze that began to gradually condense in the air behind the Stonehenge. His heart was filled with the joy of a good harvest. This is also a small function he discovered recently. If Leon conducts magic power himself during construction, then the arcane conductor has his own talent, which can make the magic power output nearly half more productive when it is used for construction magic power. It is not known whether Leon is gifted or the wonder is designed in this way, but under his strong desire and ambition, the Vientiane maze is even like a living thing. Whenever Leon's ambition and thirst for knowledge expand in his heart, this wonder standing between falsehood and reality will become taller and taller. When immersed in work, time always flies quickly. There is no sign of Joshua's condemnation fleet coming, and there is no problem with the surrounding environment except for the occasional demons. When Leon manipulated magic for the 7th day, the basic construction had been completed. The crystal maze has spread across the land. People looked at the maze that almost covered the entire field of vision in awe, and it was distorted in the sight that they couldn't even tell how it was built. Although they built it with their own hands, everyone felt that these 7 days were like a very surprising and bizarre dream. They were like possessed to complete the building, as if there was some natural mission urging them. But Leon didn't care. He wanted this result. Then, let time start to speed up. The era of scientific research is finally coming. Watching the huge crystal maze begin to be built and completed, Leon watched the blue crystal in his hand rise and fall like breathing. Facing the huge maze, Leon threw the token into the maze. The huge maze began to slowly overflow with light blue light. Facing its gradual activation, Leon felt a sense of relief. His civilization, his incarnation, will soon no longer be bound by the limitations of a scientific research supervisor like Ulfric. Isn't this a good thing? He looked at the maze that was gradually coming to an end with satisfaction. However, in the next moment, a blue wave instantly emerged from Leon's mind, intersecting with the huge blue light rising from the maze, dragging his will into a void space. Chapter 23 Dialogue with God. Blue, in many cases, represents the evolution of wisdom. Because the blue hue looks mysterious, calm, and comfortable, it seems to fit the color of the thought process. In fact, it is true that many times when people express wisdom and progress, or express that they are just and superior, they will choose to use blue tones to imply their identity. Although they may not be superior or capable, the hue itself means a hint. Humans are visual creatures. A hint that looks very wise can make people naturally full of preconceived cognition and think that the blue side is safer. But some people are just the opposite. They think that fiery red, noble purple, or green of life are more trustworthy. Don't you think this is a coincidence? These hues just divide our world. Apostrophe. The one who talked to Leon in front of him was himself, but different from the impression. This Leon's face looked softer and full of a simple bookish air. Between his eyebrows was a light blue beard and hair, and with the shining spiral pupils, Leon, who was sitting opposite, seemed to be full of a noble and steady intellectual temperament. Hello, Leon, I am you, a possibility of you. I am the servant of the God of Wisdom, and the God of Wisdom itself. Apostrophe, it said with a smile, stretching out its palm. Let's talk. In this ever-changing world, we are always inseparable, isn't it? Apostrophe tip, you are arguing with the God of Wisdom, a continent-level psychic subconscious aggregate, promoting. Apostrophe if you successfully refute, you will receive a blessing from the God of Wisdom. You can also give up this rebuttal and leave this scene without accepting any blessings. Apostrophe but someone will remember your choice. Apostrophe. Ha, God, the continent level is in trouble. It's only after promotion that it's a planet. Looking at the palm stretched out by the God of Wisdom, Leon raised his eyebrows and didn't take it, because in his impression, he had already held that hand. Not only holding hands, they even had a pleasant conversation in this azure torrent. In this twisted world of time and space, they seemed to have talked countless times. From his present to the future, from the past to the present, those plans, the support he wanted, the rewards he received, and the endless wisdom and future. It seemed that the changes of all things were in that palm. But looking at the palm that the God of Wisdom stretched out countless times, Liang finally sighed. Damn, this dog thing is not worth playing with. Why is it that every time I break his defense, he pretends that nothing happened and starts over again? Looking at the god of wisdom opposite him who was still smiling as if nothing had happened, Liang couldn't help but sigh. How should I put it? Let's call you the god of wisdom. There are some things in your countless words that make me feel ridiculous. Sitting on the high-backed chair opposite, the incarnation of the god of wisdom frowned his blue eyebrows in displeasure. Then I am really curious, although I have already got the answer in my wisdom. I would like to see more variables. Are you still going to refute me with some nonsense? Do you know about gamma ray bursts? What? It is a large-scale astronomical phenomenon, the most brilliant explosion of a star when it is dying. Its jet can span hundreds of thousands of light years and kill all the creatures on the planet in this strong neutron flow. Liang sat opposite the incarnation of wisdom with a calm face and said calmly, but this astronomical phenomenon is an insignificant matter in the macroscopic perspective of all universes. I want to see my civilization standing on the structure of the Great Wall. I want my civilization to touch the edge of the horizon and witness the traces that the fire at the beginning of creation is still burning for this universe. It's a wonderful idea, but I believe it should be just some assumptions. People live on assumptions. God of wisdom, Liang's voice approached a whole, an essential summary in the infinitely changing world. Pretending that hard work will pay off, pretending that your life will be happy, pretending that there is no injustice in this world. People survive by relying on one deception after another. However, all assumptions are for one truth. That is to survive better with your own identity. This is the struggle of all intelligent life for survival. This struggle, this ugliness of survival, is the continuation of civilization. Looking at the Azure incarnation, the infinite voices of Leon gradually merged into one, overlooking the twisted god of falsehood. We deceive ourselves, we kowtow, we talk nonsense, we use false ideas to disguise a grand picture, and deceive everyone to claim that the world is too vast. But all this is for a better life, and you, the future you provide. I can't see our existence, because we have to survive after all. Even if it kills wisdom, even if it destroys life, even if it deconstructs war, and makes culture and everything disappear, everything in this world can be destroyed, but we must exist. This is civilization, and it is me. Your crooked theories can't convince me after all. Looking at the silent god of wisdom, Leon smiled and patted its cheek. At that moment, the concept of time seemed to blur again. It seemed to be starting over again. But looking at the symbol of wisdom that suppressed anger, Leon thought about it and added a sincere word of his own. But I am looking forward to your arrival. I am also looking forward to pulling you out of the subspace one day and making you submit to my will. After all, if there is no enemy and no variables in a game, there will be no fun, right? As if shocked by this sentence, the Azure existence stared at Leon for a long time. Then, it smiled. Then I wish you a happy game. The next moment, the sky and the earth rotated, and the Azure torrent seemed to have never existed, allowing Leon's will to return to its original location. Sir? No, nothing, just found a problem. Waving at the servant who had some doubts, Leon looked at the marks on his palm and rubbed his head indifferently. He didn't care about this kind of thing. After all, he could leave at any time, but to be honest, he was a little unwilling not to take some rewards. However, after talking with the so-called god, Leon did find a small problem of his own. Or rather, a serious problem. He hasn't been back to his hometown for a week. Could his body have died in bed? Chapter 24. Anyway, let's take this opportunity to touch something. You have received the gift from the God of Wisdom. You have obtained a special status. Observation of the God of Wisdom in the Great Game. Countless people and gods have exchanged identities at the card table, but the God of Wisdom has always been one of them. Now, you have also been invited to the card table, but how long can you play this game? You can manipulate magic better. You regard magic as instinct, and you can cast magic without detailed construction. You have obtained personal traits. Wonder Builder. Wonders? Do you think wonders are a waste of money? I would say that they are necessary greatness. All wonders construction is accelerated by 15%. The negative effects brought by wonder construction will be greatly weakened, and your reputation will spread in some abnormal spaces. You have created a new wonder, your civilization progress has increased. The cumulative progress of your civilization wonders is 200%. After the creation of civilization, this trait will become a part of your civilization. Your civilization construction is currently lacking: population, cognitive turning point, second city or spreading area. Please work harder. I'm back, it's time to eat. Opening his eyes and looking at the familiar ceiling, Leon sat up from the bed and prepared to start soothing his body. Fortunately, he didn't starve to death, but unfortunately, he was about to starve to death. I don't know if it was because the powerful magic ritual completely changed his body. In fact, Leon didn't eat or drink for 5 consecutive days, which didn't cause much damage to his body. At least after checking in the mirror, Leon found that he didn't seem to have changed much. At most, his eyes seemed to really carry the spiral of another world, and some light blue symbols began to spread on his chest and body, and gradually flickered. It's not a big deal. After all, it's normal for a player from another world to have some problems. However, after studying the performance of the so-called God of Wisdom and the buff given to himself, Leon sat in front of the computer and began to search using the player's information. The God of Wisdom, or the so-called God of Wisdom in this world, is essentially a tainted evil god. Although it is true that wisdom can be blessed normally, in fact, his essence is evil and hateful, and that wisdom will only become twisted and ugly in the end. In simple terms, the wisdom that ordinary people hope for is smart, capable, and able to do some extreme things, but the wisdom given by the God of Wisdom is quite extraordinary. He tends to become more dark, think too much before and after doing things, and always loses the chain at the critical moment. Although smart, whether it is scientific research or doing things, it will lead to the worst results. After checking on the internet, Liang has a certain new understanding of the existence of the God of Wisdom. In all cultures and civilizations, the appearance and incarnation of the God of Wisdom are different, but there is no doubt that treating it as a usable god will always lead to disaster. But Liang has never thought about it. After all, he is a cheater. If the cheater can't beat the natives and can't cheat things, then the cheat is in vain. However, Liang remembers some of the wonders left by the God of Wisdom in the so-called holy places. But why are the bases of these gods all in the Chaos Wasteland in the north? Why are these civilizations vague about the north and the south, and there are very few records of exploration? Is it because there are some secrets and wonders at the poles? Is it the truth hidden by these things? Thinking of the ancient saint's test site, the wonder of his planet, and then thinking of the abnormal phenomena recorded in the ancient ruins posted by players on the forum, Liang touched his chin and was thoughtful. But at this time, there was a strong knock on the door outside. Room 302. Liang, we detected that you woke up. Why didn't you register when you came back? You didn't register at the school. You are an illegal resident, don't you know? Liang walked over and opened the door, and saw the Andy who was blocking the door at a glance. The big, strong, and imposing woman pointed at the form in her hand with her thick thumb and roared angrily, "It's the 5th day for the registration of players from other worlds. Why didn't you register?" The older staff member who looked a little angry looked at Liang impatiently, especially when she saw the lines on his body. Her face became even uglier. "You are so young, and you are still doing some tattoo work in there? Do you know that tattooing is very dangerous in other worlds? It is very likely that you will be caught by some evil god believers and have your skin peeled and muscles pulled out. Do you want to be different? Children should not be too ambitious. Hurry up and register to join the main group, because I landed in Norska. I don't have time. The impatient old lady looked at Liang with a calm expression, and her expression quickly became embarrassed and guilty. She looked so entangled that she seemed to want to slap herself. As a local administrative staff, she knew the special characteristics of some regions. In a ghost place like Norska, generally speaking, people have to start preparing personal compensation and family comfort. Although players can be resurrected in another world after death, in Norska, Death itself is an abnormally normal phenomenon. It is not strange to not die several times. It is even normal to die completely because of excessive pain and the soul is shattered there. You know, the immortality of players is mostly in the flesh, but Norska is close to the chaotic wasteland, and if you are unlucky, your soul will be directly sent. Looking at the awkward administrative ant who was digging her toes into the ground and remained silent, Leon narrated more calmly, "The runes on my body are the proof that I want to live, otherwise the Norse pirates will kill me. I just secretly found some time to eat these days." "Ah, is that so? So can I go back now?" Looking at the sweaty ant, Leon tilted his head. "I don't want to die in there yet. At least I still want to struggle in Norska. Yes, I'm sorry, little brother. How about this? I will use my authority to register a special status for you, so that you will have a certain amount every month, which allows you to read those paid posts for free. You try to survive." "I'm so sorry, I was wrong." "Thank you, you've worked hard too." It's okay. Is there such a good thing if you give in?" Looking at the old lady who left with a sigh and a grumble, as if she deserved to die, Leon scratched his hair inexplicably, as if he felt that he had earned a lot. A few minutes later, prompts appeared on Leon's mobile phone and computer forum, allowing him to see some clues of paid posts. When he sat in front of the computer, ate a nutrition bar and opened the paid column, he saw the top post in the paid area at first glance. On the possibility of players building cities, by the president of the first guild, Granny of Aldorf. Chapter 25 Player Ambition and Channel. Generally speaking, Liang would think about more things while doing one thing. This ability came to him after his own system awakened. It was as if the awakening of the system replaced his identity and the essence of life. However, for Liang, this kind of thing would only be welcomed, and there would be no complaints. When he felt the continuous progress of civilization and the feeling of being in control of everything, the changes in himself seemed to become natural. After all, when you are not in that position, you can't discover your talents. Liang used to think that his ability to be distracted and multitasking was more suitable for being absent-minded in class. When the teacher was lecturing, he pretended to listen and complained in his heart. But now with this system, he found that he could manipulate his power for simulation while sorting and analyzing various data. For example, now, Liang is mobilizing the magic wind in his body. The state of the attention of the God of Wisdom is unexpectedly useful, and can even transform the magic wind in his body into a source state. In other words, he can now create the existence of magic in this real world without magic. However, this ability is meaningless to Liang himself. He didn't like the world that was now corrupt and decadent, and only hoped to break out of its cage by the other world. While fiddling with his magic in the room and watching the terrain images light up like galaxies in the room, Leon was eating energy bars and comparing various data on 3 forums. The most important one was the paid post published by the leader of the First Player Guild. The post used a very sincere tone to tell about the current observations of the players and the thoughts on the current environment. For Leon, who is still in the early stage, it is very meaningful. Of course, the more important reason is that he needs to move his body a little now. He is idle at this time, so he might as well move around and check the information. "I'm very sorry. The main purpose of the charge is to prevent someone from making trouble. After confirming everyone's identity, this fee will be returned. As for the brothers in desperate situations such as Norska or the North, the Desolate Land and the Misty Sea, please believe that we will never give up on you after you see it. Every player should fight side by side, and we are the most reliable existence in this world." Okay, without further ado, let's get down to business. What is the dilemma we players are in now? Why must we build a player's kingdom, or at least a city? Here's my opinion. When Leon sketched out the pattern of the psychedelic crystal maze in midair, the automatically played forum scrolled, outlining the thoughts of the player leader. The identity of the player in the alien world is actually not as exciting as imagined. For the current players, in 3 years, even with various advantages, they have died in this dangerous alien world for a total of more than 100,000 people, and the number continues to rise. The advantage of the player is that without hurting the soul, The player can resurrect in the same place within 24 hours in a self-selected way. And as long as there is no continuous death or the body itself is destroyed, the player can be resurrected quickly. Even if the player's body is destroyed, he will get another chance to descend after a year. This is the source of the player's immortality, and every time he descends, each player will randomly get some strange talents. For example, Leon has proficiency in languages, and talents such as dexterity and using both hands. At present, the most recognized talent is the power of the dragon possessed by a player 2 years ago, although in a fight on the Norse Claw coast, this player with the power of a dragon was killed by a Norse beast hunter and his soul was sacrificed to the dark gods. The scene of breaking the giant's thigh with one punch is still talked about. So here, there is actually a problem with the players. Players certainly have advantages. They can be resurrected and have talents, but the disadvantages are also great. Because of the random landing, they are very likely not to come directly to the civilized area, and sometimes they will fall to death in midair and then be resurrected on the spot. And without language proficiency, there is no way to understand each other, especially in this chaotic world. Any unfamiliar face may be regarded as a suspicious robber, and being killed or imprisoned can be said to be commonplace. In addition, the talents of players are generally humorous, and even most players are not as good as ordinary humans in horizontal comparison. If the player's physical fitness base is 1, then the average adult human in this world is at least 1.5 to 2. Elves are 4 to 6, and dwarves may reach levels 8 to 10. To be precise, the abilities of most human players are not much different from those of the short and wretched Dradman who can only win by numbers. So in the beginning, it was difficult for players to move around the world. It was not until recently that they were able to gain a foothold in major cities and have the most basic footholds and settlements. However, because of this, players often get some strange secrets and news. For example, this post in front of you, fellow players. We all know that this world is neither gentle nor beautiful. We have suffered a lot because of the language barrier, and we have encountered a lot of pain and frustration. But now, I have found an opportunity. As we all know, in fact, although the edge of the Norse coast is cold and dangerous, it is full of opportunities. There are often many furs and bones in the small fishing villages on the coast. The skin and bones of these giant beasts can be sold at a price difference of hundreds of times in Altdorf and other corners of the world. But because of the instability of the route, as well as the population and regional power, few people can do business in Norska normally. But now, we have a chance. We have found a route that can normally lead to the eastern edge of Norska. This route must pass through the jagged mountains and the Terror Sea, and must pass through more than 3 reef areas to reach it. After more than a year of hard work and the help of various people, we were finally recognized by the local Norska tribe and can build our city under the local mountains. We can use our own language, our own actions, and our own trade to make our own voices heard in this world. Eastern edge of the coast. Isn't that the civilized area in the innermost trade lane of the frozen sea? The civilized people there even farm, and they are worthy of being called Norskans. And isn't that a very livable place? There is no chaos wasteland and demon legion to take advantage of it. Recalling Ulfric's disdainful popular science at the time, Leon looked at the post and a question mark slowly appeared in his head. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.